Yeah, thank you everybody for watching. We got more of the marathon coming up for benefiting No Kid Hungry. Coming up next, we got Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep Final Mix. All stories any percent being run by JHobz. So I'll be handing it off to JHobz.
Okay, then. Oops. We're going live now, and you're on. Take it away.
Hello, everybody. I'm JHobz. I'm going to be running Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. All stories here for the SpeedGaming and No Kid Hungry Marathon. Really excited to do this run. Should be super fun. We're going to have a lot to talk about, so we'll be getting into things pretty quickly. But real quick, I just wanted to introduce my commentator, Adam, or @0. How's it going?
Hey.
And other than that, I think we're just going to get started with it, and we'll start talking about Birth by Sleep pretty much right away. So I'm going to be doing 3 characters, but 5 episodes for you. It's a little weird. And I am only doing 1 character on beginner mode. I'm basically doing the fastest version of every character. So we're going to be doing Terra on beginner. We'll be doing Ventus and Aqua on critical mode. So I am going to start with, this is kind of a we get to bypass the tutorial because we've completed the game once, which is very handy. So timing starts on the character selection. Much to Adam's chagrin.
Do this, man.
And mine, honestly. My chagrin. But I'm going to start it there because that's where timing tends to start. So we are going to start with Terra here. And starting in 3, 2, 1, go. And off we go. So right at the beginning, we have kind of a tutorial fight with a whole bunch of magic orbs. Adam, do you want to just talk about the basics of BBS a little bit while I'm trying to round these things up as quickly as possible?
Yeah, sure. So if you're familiar with any Kingdom Hearts game, action RPG, press the attack button, you're swinging the Keyblade, hit the enemy, deal damage. What Birth by Sleep introduced to the Kingdom Hearts series was the command deck, which you see at the bottom left-hand corner. This command deck makes up of all the actions that JHobz has available, or most of them, in addition to his normal attack button. So you'll see right now he has Sliding Dash, Stun Edge, Quick Blitz. He presses triangle, he'll use those commands. Rather than having a resource like MP, they all just have a cooldown. So after he uses it, it'll go on cooldown. Once that cooldown's done, he can use it again.
So I was trying... okay, I should switch targets there. I'm trying to group these orbs up as much as possible. This is not going super great. It was looking okay for that the start of the third wave until Ventus knocked 4 of them going all over the place.
Yeah, a fun mechanic with that fight is that if you hit one orb with certain attacks to make them go across the screen at high speed and they collide with another orb, both orbs die at the same time.
Yeah, which is what I was trying to take advantage of, but one of them I just messed up by targeting the wrong orb, and the other was, there were 4 of them grouped up. I was really excited to hit a bunch of them into each other, and Ventus knocked them away. Your party members are often more hindrance than help in this game, sadly, but we are going to make good use of our friends, starting with this fight here in Enchanted Dominion. So we are going to go into a D-Link here, which is kind of this game's form of summons. We're going to go into the Ventus D-Link, and the main reason we're doing this is because Ventus's D-Link, when it levels up, gets a very useful ability called Haste. Oh, cool! I got a level up, so that's good. Now all of my attacks are extremely fast, as you can see, which is very good for taking out enemies. I want to revert here, I think, and start using commands to go into a command style, if you want to talk about that a bit, Adam.
Yeah, so above the commands in the bottom left in the command deck, you'll see that gauge that's filling up through command gauge. As you fill that up, when it reaches the top, you'll either gain access to your finisher command, or depending on which abilities you use to fill up that gauge, you will transform it into a new command style. If you played Kingdom Hearts 2, you can think of them as drive forms.
Yeah, they are pretty similar to drive forms, or in KH3, like form changes, they're similar as well. Or what was it? Keyblade forms? No, form change is the right word, right?
Yeah.
I'm taking a detour I wouldn't normally take here in order to grab a pulsing crystal, which is we'll talk about in a bit. But go ahead and finish your thought, Adam.
I was just going to say, further along with the command gauge thing, those command styles, you only have access to one of them at the moment, which is the one he just went into in that fight. As he unlocks more from progressing throughout the game, which one you get will be determined by which commands you used and the elements of those commands. So in specific fights, you'll want to use specific elements to get the command style you want.
For example, very soon we'll be able to potentially go into a command style called Diamond Dust, which we actually don't want to see, so I'll be avoiding like specific moves in order to make sure that doesn't happen. I also just grabbed a Blizzard. A lot of the early items we're going to pick up are just for selling, but eventually we'll be potentially picking up stuff to use for other things like combining commands, which is called melding in this game, or just commands that we want to use. The cool thing about all stories is that every character kind of has a different core mechanic that you use. Terra is a lot of using D-Links, a lot of using those summons, mostly because he kind of isn't all that great by himself in a lot of ways. So we're going to use Ventus again here with the haste ability that we got. It allows us to fill up that gauge very quickly, and then while we're using the finisher here for the basic attack, it actually gets us a whole bunch of... whoops, I should not have gotten hit 3 times there. And I didn't block it full on, so it's going to charge the whole way probably. That's fine. That finisher gives us a lot of damage, but also invulnerability frames while we're using it, so please don't charge again. Alright, there we go. That's what I meant to do the first time, was block it. I got 3. I don't think I've ever gotten 3 charges. I didn't know he could charge 3 times, so a little bit of a rough fight, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's just bad luck with which pattern he chose to use.
Yeah, and I should have been able to kill him after the first charge if I had knocked him down properly, but I didn't get in his path. I got hit by that move where he went really dark, like he turned all purple and everything. We call those DMs, or desperation moves, all the time. Basically, the boss is often invulnerable during that time and will just hit you out of a lot of what you want to do. And I got hit by that 3 times. I usually just get hit by it twice and then can adjust appropriately. So that was just a slight error on my part. And now we do a quick menu to change some of our commands up to be slightly more helpful. And now we're going to go into another force fight where we're going to use another D-Link. So this time we're going to be using Aqua's D-Link, and we're going to use this a lot throughout this run. And that is because Aqua has some very useful spells. Right now, we just have Thunder and Blizzard are kind of the only useful ones, but we're hoping to get a level up in this fight, just like we got with Ventus in the previous one. And of course, the Flood keep going underground right as I aim the Blizzard. I should have done the finisher first there. Oh well. So the level ups that we're hoping to get are just random. It's just every time we kill an enemy, there's a chance that they can drop the level up. D-Links can level 2 times. We ideally want to see at least one of them here. We could see 2, and it would be fine. It would actually potentially slow this fight down a little bit.
Yeah, with each level up that the D-Link gets, it gets a new passive. So like when Ven's D-Link made him start attacking faster, and it increases the number of commands in the command deck that you have access to while in the D-Link.
Okay. I didn't get any level ups, which is very unfortunate because we definitely need at least 1 Aqua level up. Well, we really want 2. by a certain point, but the first one we want as quickly as possible because it's really going to help us out.
And those D-links aren't an infinite resource. You'll see in the bottom right, one of those gauges around Terra's face is the blue one, the D-link gauge. That shows how long you can be in a D-link, and you can't re-enter a D-link unless it is full. So since JHobz didn't have a full D-link right there, even if he had wanted to, he couldn't re-enter it yet.
Yeah.
You also can't use D-links in fights like this where you have a party member.
There we go. So we are going to be using that critical impact command style instead.
Again, going back to the whole party members are usually a hindrance in this game. They prevent you from doing a lot of fun stuff or just mess up fights in general.
So I was trying to build up to that critical impact when those, I don't know the names of them, the shoes spawn. And thankfully I was able to just barely hold on to it. Oops, I meant to do this.
They do have shoe in their name, so that's good enough.
Yeah, close enough. The problem with the shoes is they can go invulnerable like that. Thankfully, critical impact does a lot of damage, so it doesn't take many swings to actually, kill them. We don't generally have to deal with their invulnerability too much, but it's better to have critical impact's finisher ready so we can just one-shot them. And now we're going to use a... whoops, I'm going to pause at random times a lot. We're going to use a shot lock for the first time, if you want to talk about shot locks a bit, Adam. Yeah,
so shot locks, if you play KH3, they're in that as well. It's the last gauge in the bottom right, the focus one. Essentially, if JHobz will hold R1, it locks onto enemies in front of you, builds up a number, and then you press X and it attacks, and it just hits enemies for the number of times that you let it build up. If it builds up fully, it does a powerful attack at the end of it. It's just another additional source of damage, mostly used for range. The one that we currently have is not extremely useful. It's nice for a couple situations, but we'll be getting a better one later on, specifically for its element.
All right, so this in this fight, we're basically just waiting for Cinderella to kind of follow us. I hope she went to the right. She did. Good. In the meantime, I'm just trying to take out the enemies as best I can and get into critical impact. Soon we will not care about critical impact. It's actually only useful really for this early part. But while we don't have a whole lot available to us, it is definitely handy. I don't even know if she might have kept moving.
Comparison, on the critical speedrun for Terra, you actually don't, like, Cinderella won't spawn those 3 waves of enemies at the top, only you will. So you just let her run to the end, and then you go up there, and you can skip all of those enemies.
Alright, so we are going to use sliding dash for movement occasionally. I think I've already done that like once or twice, but there's another good example of it. We're going to do that across all of the characters, which is pretty neat. There aren't too many useful commands for movement, but that is one of them, which is really... I really like.
In general, of the 3 characters, Terra has the best dodge when it comes to covering ground. His slide moves him pretty far, and as he continues gaining experience for it, it will move him even farther. The other 2 characters have much better dodges for iframes, but not for covering ground. So they will rely on sliding dash more so.
Yeah, it's actually funny. I find Terra's like the oh, what the heck? All right, there we go. I find Terra's kind of the hardest to use at the beginning, but then, or like the most awkward to use, and then as he, I did that too early. As he gets it leveled up and he can start really dashing across the ground, it's great. I meant to save that finisher for when the boss was about to land, but I just accidentally pressed it a little too early. Still not a completely terrible fight. It's mostly how you expect it to go. You have a chance of killing him before he jumps, but it's pretty tough. So I usually expect to kill him after he jumps.
Coming up, we get the best use of Terra's shot lock that he starts with.
Yes, yeah.
So JHobz will be using that. Because this shot lock is a melee one that rushes Terra to his target, we can use that here to move Terra up onto this ledge to get a chest that we aren't supposed to get this early. Or at least not supposed to get this directly. Supposed to go through the whole mini-game aspect to get up here.
There we go. Yeah, so that went pretty well. I take it a little safe after I land because Terra is kind of, the direction he's facing is mostly consistent, but it's just a little weird. So I tend to just stand still for a second and wait for the camera to flip around so I don't accidentally dash off the ledge. And then I need to go here, and we are going to... Debatably, this is a sequence break. I think it is, right? It certainly is with Aqua.
It's a really powerful command, so I would assume so.
Yeah, they expect you to have a higher jump there, but instead we just use a ledge grab in order to get Fission Faraga very early, and we are actually just getting it to sell it in this run. It is just going to give us a lot of money. We need to buy a whole bunch of fires because they're going to be useful pretty much the whole run, but especially much later. And we are going to buy a couple other commands as well that we're going to use for melding. You want to talk about melding while I'm doing this, Adam?
Yeah, so we've mentioned like the crafting system, even abilities gaining experience up to this point. All of these commands that JHobz have been equipping, they have their own individual level. As you can see right now, Sliding Dash is level 3, all these others are level 1. When you equip a command and then defeat enemies, those enemies will give you command points, which levels up your commands. In order to meld two commands together, they need to be at a specific level. Some of them need to be max level, some need to be at least level 2, but they have to have at least gained a couple of levels to be able to meld them. Once they're significantly leveled, you can then combine those commands to make a new command.
Combining commands is helpful for the new command they make, but almost more often we care about the ability that the new command can come with. I'm getting very unlucky on Aqua's D-Link level drop, which is causing this fight to be very slow. We would hope to have a spell called Magnet by this point. We would have hoped to get it in the very first fight we did with Aqua's D-Link. This is the kind of thing that you would actually normally just reset around if you didn't get it quickly enough. But obviously this is a marathon run, so we're just going to handle the RNG. There's the first one. We still need a second one, but the first is the more important one. And of course, I immediately got my magnet canceled.
Unfortunately, you can only get one level up while in the D-Link, and at this point, it's questionable if it's faster to reroll and go back into it. You're not going to be able to be very engaged by the end of the fight.
Yeah, and this is also getting very hectic. You know what? I'm going to
guarantee you won't get the second level up off this, since we were still in the D-Link usage that got the first level up.
Yeah, it was like the last enemy of a wave that gave it to me, so I wasn't going to be able to revert very easily. It was very frustrating. We're going to have to hope we get it in Radiant Garden now. And it's going to affect some things, but that's okay. It's gonna affect some strategies, but we should be able to deal with it. This way, I was about to go the wrong way.
But yeah, that last part of the melding aspect, you combine the two commands, and then you also add a crystal to it, and that crystal determines what ability is on the command. So throughout all three characters, we'll be looking for specific crystals in order to get the passive abilities that we want.
All right, coming up to Magic Mirror, I'm just going to let Adam talk because I got to focus on how to do this. But we're going to be trying for a quick kill here.
Yeah, so the main start to this fight is going to be using specific commands in order to get into critical impact. As we mentioned, that is the command style that we want, and some commands that we have would give us Diamond Dust instead. So now that JHobz is in critical impact, he's going to beat up the boss. As you can see, it's doing a lot of damage.
So I didn't quite space things out properly. But I at least got a lucky pattern. So sometimes the boss will dash at you like that, and you can kill it if you don't get the quick kill. I was trying to kill it before it even got another attack off. Sometimes it will do a very long attack that you just can't deal any damage during for a bit. So I did get the luckier of the two patterns at least. And now we're going to head over to Mysterious Tower, where we're basically just going to watch some cutscenes. And by watch, I mean skip. But I am going to do a menu while I'm here as well. So I need to collect a cure here just because I wasn't noticing if I got one or not. Normally we would switch Aqua's D-Link back to level 1 here as well, but we're going to switch our Keyblade to a stronger one. and then switch some of our commands here. Again, mostly to level them up. So the level 2 fires we're replacing with level 1 fires. We could also equip Air Slide and a Shot Lock, which was the chest that we sequence broke into in the last world. This is going to swap our Shot Lock from the one that lets us dash around to one that does a bunch of damage with fireballs, and we are going to make pretty great use of that throughout the course of the run. And we're heading off to the Badlands here for a quick cutscene, and then we're going to Radiant Garden. Radiant Garden, I would say, is not... You're not going to, like, die in Radiant Garden probably in a Terra beginner run, but it is like the hardest world, I would say, because it just requires a lot of optimization. There's a lot of grinding that happens in this world, and... not having Aqua's level 2 D-Link is going to make it very hard. So I'm really hoping I get it in this forced fight here, in this first one, because if I have to do the level 2 grinding, or if I have to do the grinding later with the level 2, it's going to cause some problems for me. Oh, thank you.
Hey, you got it.
Yes.
The downside is that you're now stuck with the second level finisher
Yes.
of the Aqua D-Link. So that is going to make this fight a little iffy.
Yeah, and I did this... I should have gone to 14, but that's okay. I did the start of this a little weirder than I wanted to, just because I needed to make sure I stayed in the Aqua D-Link long enough to get that level up. So that is going to cause me to have to improvise a bit here. Because I don't have any D-Link right now in order to... I don't have full D-Link in order to go into Aqua. And now I can... And we're going to use Magnet to hopefully mostly take out these enemies. This one is just deciding to hang out over here, though, so it's being a little weird. Oops, I got a little lost in my commands. That's okay. Yeah, so I normally I would use the finisher a lot in this fight, and I'm trying not to because it is a very bad finisher. There we go. So I'm just trying to kind of do anything else that I can think of in order to make this fight not...
Especially with these tank topplers, the mechanic is that if you hit them from the front too many times, they become invulnerable and explode without you gaining experience.
There we go.
And the magic volley finisher on Aqua's D-Link will probably trigger that. So JHobz does not want to use that finisher, particularly when those enemies are on screen.
I've almost never actually had to do that fight with the level 2 like Aqua finisher, so that was very weird. But that's okay. Now I'm about to do another menu, so I'll be able to fix it from here on out. And at least for the primary grind in this world, I'm not going to have to worry about that, because I would have been very nervous if I had to worry about it. So we're going to use Zero Gravity and Sliding Dash, and since I have a Pulsing Crystal, we'll use it. We're also going to use a couple of our fires here and a Shimmering Crystal. We have plenty of Shimmering Crystals. That's awesome. Why is that good, Adam?
Yeah, so the Shimmering Crystal, when melted with 2 fires, makes a fire with a Fire Boost passive. As you can imagine, Fire Boost increases your fire damage. That can stack up to 3 times
Oof.
for boosts.
I need a full D-Link here, so I'm going to have to do this a couple times, but that's fine.
But yeah, so as you can imagine, we have several fire elemental attacks in our deck. We have access to a fire type command style that we can enter from using fire commands. And Flame Salvo, the shot lock that we got, is also fire elemental. So a lot of fire damage sources, all being amplified by those fire boosts.
Yep. I realized that it was going to be faster for me to just leave the world in order to refill my D-Link. That is at least a handy trick. So now we're going to get our... Oh, I forgot to do it.
I didn't say anything because you mentioned that you remembered, so I forgot to pay attention to see if you
Yeah, I remembered it until I had to read the menu. There we go. Now we switch. Honestly, that could have been worse because I got another level up showing up, so it let me get a refill. So the bread and butter combo we're going to see here is Magnera into Thundara, into finish and then revert before we collect the D-Link drops, so that way we are able to... I just want to make sure I wasn't supposed to go grab the chest. I wasn't. We are able to refill our D-Link before... like when we collect the D-Link drops, so that way we can go into the Aqua D-Link again. And the reason we want to do it like multiple times is because, or why we want to like revert, is actually because it will refresh the cooldown of the of our commands, most notably Magnet. I messed this up because I forgot I was supposed to do one attack here. Playing this game and talking about it at the same time is very difficult. What the heck am I locked onto?
Yeah, those enemies that spawn when you first walk in don't despawn until you get pretty far away. The lock-on likes to target those guys.
I did not mean to use Binding Strike. That's fine.
Yeah, the Magnet Thunder combo will be pretty common across all three characters, whether it's with Aqua's D-Link, without Aqua's D-Link, or with Aqua.
Okay.
A moment for a donation.
Oh, go for it. Yeah.
So yeah, we got a donation from the last race that just happened from Sin, giving $50 for a great cause of the great race with Paxman. Shout out to Queen Anne B for the commentary, and Evenbird giving 10 times to make this possible. And good luck to all the runners.
All right.
Yeah, it's a great race.
I had to really improvise in that section because I messed up the one fight, but that's okay. That's kind of the trick with Kingdom Hearts fights. If you mess up one thing, there's a lot of improvisation that needs to happen after that. And I'm not the best at improvising with this game, but it at least is something that just comes with, you know, more and more practice, and have at least put some time into this to hopefully be able to improvise enough.
Yeah, so you see that JHobz started this fight by doing several just straight physical attacks and then fire, because filling the command gauge with mostly fire compared to another, like using Confusion Strike or Binding Strike, allowed him to get Firestorm. And the Firestorm finisher is very powerful against this boss. The boss has 3 different pieces, and all of them take damage from that finisher when they combine together like that.
I don't think I've had the legs survive in a while. It's okay, though. I'm trying to get to the torso, but there we go. Gonna use another fire to be safe.
I would say this fight is one of the few where party members are actually pretty valuable. Aqua and Ven do pretty significant damage in this fight, and it'll be true for the all 3 stories fight this boss, since they're all here in this fight. And that's true across all 3, that your party members can do a pretty significant chunk of damage in this.
Yeah, it's actually almost even more important, I would say, in the critical mode runs.
Definitely.
Alright, this Firestorm should do enough for me to kill with a Shotlock if it doesn't kill on its own, which it did. So I didn't get a good angle on my first Firestorm finisher, which is why I kind of had to, like, eventually had to spend that time chasing down the torso, because things just kind of cascaded. But in general, that could have been way worse. That fight can go so horribly. We do need full D-Link again, so I am going to kill a couple of the enemies here.
You see, in a lot of these fights, JHobz can just like tank through damage in order to not have to waste time avoiding attacks. He did that pretty often in the Trinity Armor fight. He would not have that luxury in the next 2 characters.
Yeah, and even later in this fight, or in this character, that becomes less possible. So, debatably, I should have just left the world again. I'm not used to being that low on D-Link, but it happens. So we need to sell some things here, and I just need to make sure I don't sell any of those top things. I need to get to 760 money. Do I not have enough? Ooh. Why am I so low on money? Fire, Thunder, Cure Arrow. Wow. I've not been this low on money before. We are going to go ahead and kill some stuff, I guess.
Did you pick up any of the chests in the next room on the way towards Trinity Armor?
No.
A couple of commands in those chests that sell for a pretty significant amount. That might
Yeah.
be faster than just killing enemies.
Could go back. I'm not like super far off though. I need 30 more now. So
Okay.
I shouldn't have reverted, but that's okay. We'll just use Firestorm.
Too much cage to Vando. I don't remember how much money these enemies give anymore.
Oh, 20. Okay, you know what? Let's just see if this is something I could sell. Hey, I can sell that. I should have killed that one for the D-Link, but that's fine. Yeah, like I said, when things go weird, you gotta improvise a bit, but we're about to come up to the kind of big reason I say this world is hard, but first we need to buy a Binding Strike and 3 magnets. And I do need full D-Link still. So the enemies respawn as soon as you leave the room. And pretty much, I think just one of these should get me full. Yeah, there we go.
I do see how important looking at your notes during the run is.
Yeah, I did leave. I did throw my notes up for my commentator and host here, just for interest's sake. And yeah, there's a whole lot going on, as you might imagine. So now we are starting the grind, and basically the idea here. So we're getting unlucky and getting hit there. I don't think that's just me not doing enough, like doing the commands fast enough. I think it is also just there is some bad luck that can happen there if the wrong enemy decides to attack you. But like I said, this part is tricky to do efficiently. There we go. There we go. Because that's what we want to have happen. We want that Mind Square to pull to hit everything as it gets pulled in, and then use our Magnet Thunder here without having to wait on the Thunder cooldown.
The blue guy just wanted to give you time to set up.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't quite fill D-Link again. It's being very rude, but that's okay. I'm definitely at fault here for a lot of that. But that was, oops, that was 3 grinds after doing that menu, which means we're going to do another menu and then repeat the grind one final time. So now we need to meld those commands. They should hopefully be high enough level. Yes, magnet and magnet. I'm not used to seeing no fires there, so I got confused for a second, but that's because we got good luck earlier. Thunder magnet and cure and arrow with a fleeting crystal if we got one, which we did, so that's awesome. So we were still able to meld everything, which means we got all the experience we needed. So we're going to do this one more time.
And the thing to note on the fire boosts on those fire, those are only active right now while JHobz has the fires equipped. It is not until those commands get to max level that then those passives are permanently attached to your character, and then you don't need to have that command equipped for the passive to be effective. That's particularly important for when you want to meld commands together that have passives attached to them. They need to be max level first so that you don't lose those passives in the mode.
Yeah, that's why we do so much grinding here. And finally, that one went well. That is how that is supposed to go. So now we're going to do the same thing here. We do just still need a little bit of extra grinding. And then we do a Mind Square into Magnera here. This should kill everything. It doesn't always, though, so we just have to... I always think I can do Fire Strike in air. Okay, good. It did kill. And then we're going to use the finisher here. We don't need to use Aqua's D-Link in the next fight, so that's why I am not reverting it all here. We just don't have to worry about it. And now we're going to fight Braig. I think Fire leveled up to 2, right? During that last section? Fyra?
It looked like it was 2 when you equipped them.
They were definitely 1 when I equipped them, but they were almost 2. So I'm assuming a level up. We'll double check. So now we're going to be using the Flame Salvo Shotlock a bunch for this fight. Basically, these little fireballs, homing attack, which makes them very useful against an enemy that warps around a lot. And I have enough fire boost. Am I going to get lucky? Not quite. A lot of my first one must have whiffed. Okay. Normally, Braig will teleport back up to the top if you don't kill him into shot locks, but hey, I'll take it. Yeah, we'll double check at... Well, I guess OC, I'm still using the same thing, so if I didn't level them up before, they'll level up there. So we are heading into Disney Town next. All of the worlds are the same across all the characters. We just do some of them in different orders. But in general, you kind of do the first ring of worlds, you do Radiant Garden, and then you do the next ring of worlds. And you unlock them in similar orders. But we are going to pick different orders to do the freeform choice worlds for different reasons on the various characters. We are going to go to Disney Town first for both Ventus and Terra, because it is just the most convenient, basically. It's the most useful. For Terra, we don't really get a whole lot out of Disney Town. Ventus, we do. I messed up the boost, but that's fine. Now is a perfect time for donations because we have to do 5 laps of this. There's a whole lot of rubber banding involved. So as long as I just don't lose, because I do have to come in first at the end, then that's all that matters here, really. So now is a perfect time if you want to say anything about the charity or read any donations or anything like that.
So sure, I can say a couple things. You're benefiting No Kid Hungry, a wonderful charity helping kids. I can blurb yet. There you go. A charity with the mission of ending childhood hunger, and it's a great organization supporting food banks, community groups to serve the areas that need it most. So wonderful organization. Definitely good to get your donations in for it. I do also see that in your notes here, I don't know if you wrote these or someone else.
I did write this, yeah.
Yeah, giving another name for this Rumble Racing. That's great.
Yeah, it's called. Yeah, this is called Rumble Racing, but it should have been called Kingdom Carts because absolutely. missed opportunity there. Am I getting hit by that? Okay, I didn't.
It's very much like Kingdom Hearts here to have just a random genre flip in the middle of the game.
Yeah, are there currently any open incentives or anything for future runs? Because unfortunately, we don't have any donation incentives for this Kingdom Hearts run, but there's still a lot left in the marathon.
Yeah, there's a couple going on that are for tomorrow. We do have Majora's Mask, bonus run credits for, and also Kingdom Hearts 3 Super Boss Rush that's happening on the last day.
All right, y'all got to donate for that for sure. What the? Oh man, I might actually lose this lap now. Lose this race because of that. I have not had that happen on the 5th lap before, so this is going to be sketchy. Please hit the tornado. Thank you. I still could lose because the rubber banding is really strong, but I think we're good. Okay.
Yeah, they toned down the rubber banding on the 5th lap.
Oh, do they? I didn't know that.
Yeah, the rubber banding essentially turns off once you hit lap 5.
Okay.
But up until the final lap, being in first is meaningless.
Yeah. That was extremely nerve-wracking, though. I've never been hit on the 5th lap before.
Yeah, Captain Dark almost took you out with him.
Yeah.
With that bomb.
I know. I saw the bomb, too. I was very nervous about that. Okay, so now that we have Magneras and Firas, we could use Firestorm to take things out here, or we can use our bread and butter Aqua D-Link combo, and since that's what we use, the entire time up to this point, it's kind of just a good idea to stick with it, I find. Because it is what I'm, used to doing. Oh, no, I don't need to do that. That's right. I got nervous that those enemies were going to hit me, so. So once again, we're reverting with Aqua because it will allow us to start up a new magnet instantly. Because going back into the D-Link refreshes all the cooldowns. So, of course, one Flood decided to go underground and ruin everything, which is the case that for all Kingdom Hearts speedruns, the shadows or the enemies that are basically shadows are the worst for speedrunning because they will just hide underground and waste your time. But not too bad overall. Everything went pretty much according to plan there. Now we're heading into Olympus Coliseum's little tournament here. We have 10 rounds of enemies we need to take out. I'm going to be using... Oh, go ahead. Yeah, you were going to say something.
I was going to say, notice JHobz will specifically not be maxing out his shot lock on these first couple of rounds. Essentially, the number in the bottom left, how many attacks a shot lock does based on which grouping you do. For Flame Salvo, it's 1 through 5, 6, 7 through 10, 11 through 14, and then 15. JHobz was specifically aiming for the 11 through 14 on those first couple of rounds. And then for later enemies, when he wants to use the 4-shot lock like he was using on Break, he wants to do the full 15.
Yeah, and because of how fast the number ramps up, it's really common to accidentally go to 15. I honestly thought I was going to at some point there, so I'm really glad I didn't.
And you don't want to hit 15 in these smaller rounds because it will delay moving on to the next round until it goes through the whole finisher animation.
Yeah.
So it's pretty important that JHobz doesn't hit 15 with those shorter shot locks.
And Firestorm Finisher here works really well when you can group all the enemies up. So pretty much the entire concept here is building up Firestorm, taking out enemies without using the finisher on enemies that you've already dealt some damage to, and then building up that finisher to wipe out an entire wave at once.
I don't believe JHobz has any commands in his deck that would mess this up, but at this point we have unlocked Tier 2 command styles. Say for instance, if JHobz was in Firestorm and he used a Blizzard spell, instead of getting that Firestorm finisher once the command gauge was full, he would go into the next stage of the command style, which is Blade Charge. That is an issue for some characters or for some parts of the route, but I don't believe any of the commands in your deck right now matters for that.
I can tell you it's not happened to me, but I could not tell you which commands cause it, so yeah, I'll take your word for it.
I know you have Blade Charge, but that would require having a Blizzard, and you have Rockbreaker, and I don't remember what causes that one.
Wow,
Since they haven't activated, it's probably fine.
We got a good number of fleeting crystals too. So our D-Link RNG was pretty bad, but our drop RNG was good this run. So that's at least helpful. Could you imagine if I also got a magic case there?
Always hope for it.
Yeah. All right, and thankfully, since we were able to make these fire surges, that means that all of my CP was good earlier.
For anyone who's familiar with the sort of meta for the casual playthroughs of Birth by Sleep, you'll be familiar with the Surge commands that JHobz just made.
Alright.
Fire Surge and Thunder Surge are strong attacks that let you be invulnerable throughout the entire time of casting them, so they're very powerful both offensively and defensively. We specifically went with Fire because that matches our Flame Salvo element, so doing the Fire boost allows us to boost the damage of both the Fire Surges and our Shot Lock.
Yeah. So, like, for example, the number of fire boosts we have is variable based on the drops we get throughout the run, and it really matters a lot because right there I used 2 fire surges to just wrap up that fight, but if I only had like 1 fire boost, I might have to use like 4 fire surges or something. Like I might have to use a lot more, and that isn't, you know, that kind of amplifies in how big of a deal it is over the course of the run, especially once you get to the final boss. So I am very glad. Oh right, Ven's dealing. I was spacing out for a second on what to do here. I'm very glad that we got a whole bunch of fire boosts because the final boss, for all of the characters we're going to be doing today, tends to be the hardest part, and Terra is no exception to that.
It's entertaining. Of the 3 characters, because JHobz is running critical for the other 2, only Terra will care about getting boost abilities, like Fire Boost, to boost his damage. Both Aqua and Ven get access to a D-Link that gives you a command called Treasure Raid, where hitting an enemy allows them a chance to drop their crystal that they can drop. So Terra, the character that needs access to the most crystals, does not have access to the D-Link that makes it the easiest to get them.
Yeah. You just have to hope. And pick up the extra ones in chests that you can along the way. Oops. Okay. So we have every character has some form of like space fight. Aqua's and Ven's are both really bad. Terra's is just kind of move in a circle and mash X. It's not a big deal. There we go.
If you like these little jellyfish enemies, you'll be seeing them quite a few more times throughout all 3 characters.
So as unassuming as they may seem, those enemies can very quickly kill you, especially on the critical mode runs. On beginner, you're less concerned with it, but... and now we're in kind of this weird phase that I like, as how I like to think of it with Terra Beginner, where we're not really going to be using Aqua anymore, Aqua's D-Link, because we have good enough commands to hopefully take out enemies, but it's just slightly less convenient. Like these fire surges, Magna into fire surge, you can see I'm not always landing everything, but we do want to use Firestorm because Firestorm is very good, so we have to build up to it. I think one of the enemies, just decided to never come closer, but that's fine. We'll just clean him up.
Terra's also a much more physically focused character, so his magic growth isn't great. And at this point in the game, using Aqua's Magnet Thunder with the Keyblade we have equipped will do almost no damage, because our magic stat is so far below the floor for the sword.
Mm-hmm. We're about to head through one of the worst rooms in the game for Aqua. But for Terra, we are just going to dash a few times and we're good to go. Oh, okay, I had to make it worse. There we go. Okay, so Cinderella. We are going to do a cool little sequence break here where we... Not really a sequence break, but just a little skip. I don't know why I called it sequence break. You can use it to sequence break in Ventus's run. But yeah, we just do a cool little skip there where we use Enchanted Step from Cinderella and target an enemy above us in order to really gain a ton of height super quickly. We're actually going to use that with all 3 characters to varying degrees. For there, it just saves us a little bit of time.
moves that have a sort of dash element like sliding dash, enchanted step, if you can use those into a wall while locked onto an enemy above you, you can gain height with them.
Yeah, it's very cool. And we're going to see, in Ventus's run in particular, it's going to be used for really, like, for something really strong. He's probably going to go into the turrets here, right? Yeah. So this fight is pretty much use a whole bunch of flame salvos and hope that that you are able to just get lucky enough from experiment, whatever number he is, where you don't ever see him go into the turrets and become invulnerable. But it's just random. I'm losing some of my damage here, which is a little unfortunate, but that happens.
Honestly, it's been so long since I've done not level 1 on Terra, I forgot you could destroy the turrets.
Oh, yeah, you just gotta wait it out on level 1. I mean, you can destroy them, but not quickly enough. We are, getting, honestly, towards the end of the Terra run already, and Terra, I would say, is probably the one that I'm, least comfortable with. So, even though it is theoretically the easiest, because it's the only one we're doing on beginner difficulty, because of just a lot of the ways that you have to handle mob fights and stuff, I end up being less comfortable with it. So we have Neverland, which is our last Disney World, which we are going to handle the initial force fight in pretty much the same way we did the last one. We're going to use magnets into fire surges until these large ape enemies spawn, and then we're going to use Firestorm to take it out immediately. I don't know why I jumped before doing that magnet. That just made my life a little bit harder, but that's okay. Get down here. There we go. So I ideally want Fire Surge to be off cooldown right now, but we're just going to do some attacks in between. Thank you, targeting. Going to magnet the other enemies, and then hopefully hit both of these apes with the Firestorm. I think I did get this one a little bit, but unfortunately not as much as I would have liked. That's okay. Magnet just for a little bit of chip damage while I was trying to see my commands, and then we'll take them out. Not too bad. The good news about Terra Beginner is that if you make mistakes, you're not likely to die from them until the very end of the run. You just have to try to reduce the time loss as much as possible. That will not be the case for the next 2 characters we run. Oops. All right, so we're going to sell...
And you can see now, since we're getting late into the run, how much distance Terra's dash makes now.
Yeah. Oh, not Fire Dash. Fire Surge, please. So we need to buy a couple of Fire Surges and then as many Max Ethers as we can. 4 is not a ton, but we'll live, hopefully.
You at least have the fire boosts to make up for it.
That is true, yeah. There we go. So we have turned our command deck into all Fire Surges and 1 Cure. This is, I believe that was the last menu of the run. That is, of Terra's run, that is. I keep accidentally using Sonic Impact. But, yeah, that is going to allow us to just deal with bosses in particular very well. I have a fair amount of grinding here to get to a specific level. There's level 18, and then I need to get to I need to get to 330 experience away. Oops, that's fine. We just won't take out these enemies. We'll just respawn the room. So because our grind in Radiant Garden didn't go super well, that is kind of why we're a little bit behind on experience here. But we would normally do a grind. We would just hope to not have to respawn this room. The fire boosts are, killing them pretty quickly when I can line these fire surges up correctly, though. Alright, now we got enough. We have enough experience. And I'll just dip into the water here by accident. I mean, on purpose. And head over
There's
to...
a lot of fire Terra needed to cool off.
Yeah. There we go.
Now you're going to put Peter Pan in his place, as the information bar says.
Yeah. So with fire boosts, with 3 fire boosts, I should be able to do this in just 2 shot locks. Whereas with anything less, I would need 3 full shot locks. So again, Flame Salvo is very good because one of the main reasons it's very good is that it will home in on the target. So even though we couldn't see where Peter Pan was that whole time for the second shot lock, all of those were still landing.
And contrary to what you might think, that shot lock does scale off your strength stat, not your magic stat. So that's why it's so good for.
I actually didn't know that, and that makes a lot of sense why we switched the Keyblade the way we do now. Now we're getting a pretty cool little thing here. All of these jellies drop D-Link refilling items, like artifacts. So we're going to use Aqua again. They all die from just one magnet. We don't need to like use any thunders or anything. So we just use magnet, revert, and then go back into the Aqua D-Link as quickly as possible, because then we are able to refresh the cooldown of Magnera. And we just kind of repeat that over and over, which is great. And we hit level 20 at the end of that fight, I believe.
Yeah, that quote-unquote boss fight's also great for Terra because all of those jellies give command points, so all those fire surges Hobbs just bought maxed out on level now.
Do they actually get stronger on higher level? I actually didn't know that. Okay.
Yes, it is. It's very insignificant, but they do get stronger as they level up.
Yeah, so just a little bit of extra damage. And with this run, we really need every bit that we can get, even though, like I said, I keep saying, even though it's beginner, we're pretty much like setting everything up for the final boss, like the entire run, because the final boss is just kind of rough.
Yeah, I mean, between Ericus and Master Xehanort, you probably use like couple dozen fire surges, so it's a pretty significant number of times that they hit, even if it's a small damage increase.
Yeah, more than a couple dozen for sure. Maybe on Ericus a couple dozen, but like, yeah. So we are using a whole bunch of fire surges here. Ericus is not always going to get stunned by this. He will like break out, so we might actually cure in this fight at a certain point. Ideally, I want him to kind of be... I'm actually just going to use Dark Impulse to try to, like, adjust the spacing here. Because we want to hit Ericus with as many ticks of the Fire Surge as we can. I'm going to Cure, and then we're going to Shot Lock here. And hopefully we should be able to finish him with this Flame Salvo. If we don't, that's okay. We'll finish him with the Fire Surge after, but this Flame Salvo will allow us to just be invulnerable for that entire boss, or that entire Desperation move.
That was really lucky he was going into his second DM out of the first one, because Ericus can guard shot locks. But because he chose to DM a second time, he just took the full hit.
Yeah, and thankfully it wouldn't have been the worst, because he only would have missed like the extra damage from the max shot lock, I think. So it could be worse, but yeah, always good to have as much damage land as possible. And I lied earlier about the last menu being before. I did forget about this one. We're going to equip the best Keyblade we can, the Chaos Ripper, and we are going to also equip the Mega Ethers that we bought earlier. We can only hold 3 of them. Yes, I guess it didn't matter too much that we only got 4. But if I'm pressing square too soon. If we end up taking a death at any point, we will end up consuming any Mega Ethers we use. So I do have to be careful about that. That's why we do ideally want some more.
For an idea of stats, the Keyblade we had on prior to this one was 5 strength, 1 magic. This one is 10 strength, -2 magic. So just going all in on the strength build.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Hobbs will be losing this Keyblade for the final boss, which will nerf his strength. But we can at least use it for these next 2 fights.
So we skip a few cutscenes there, and then we have to fight Vanitas, who we fight with all of the characters at the end of the run. And the basic way we're going to do this, we're going to open with a shot lock here, hope that he doesn't dodge too much of the damage with his DM, which he did not go into until the very end, and he still tanks on the damage, so that's good. And then we are going to, I think we just... Oops. we just use another shot lock, is what I meant to say. We generally use one Fire Surge after his DM, but... and now we take out Vanitas. We go straight into Xehanort next. We're going to just be using Fire Surge on him for the most part. So we ideally want to, like, hope he just stays stun locked here, which unfortunately he did not do. We need to get into Firestorm, but oh wow, that thing did more damage than I expected. Remember I said we're still worried about dying once we get to the final bosses? Yeah, here we go.
So I asked JHobz earlier today if he had ever seen that specific attack from Xehanort, and he said he wasn't sure. So now you won't forget that attack exists.
Yeah. Yeah, I was not familiar with that one, and he of course used it twice. now. So that time I dodged away, knowing how much damage it was going to do.
It looks like it does have the same effect that it has on crit, where his AI just kind of breaks after he uses it.
Yeah. We did finally use Blade Charge at the end there, which is a tier 2 command style like Adam was talking about earlier. We just use it for a few extra hits there because our Fire Surges are on cooldown, and it does a lot of damage with that particular Keyblade equipped. But now we are on to the real, like, rough part of this run, which is Terranort. This is kind of the main reason I'm not doing this run on critical mode, is that this boss fight in particular would be extremely challenging and potentially pad the estimate a lot.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite the same for Ven, but for Aqua and Terra, it's not uncommon for somebody learning the critical mode run to spend as long on their final boss as they did on everything else leading up to the final boss.
Yeah, I would say Ven's not even... Like, that's fairly accurate for him, too. We're getting quite unlucky here. What we want to do is pretty much just Flame Salvo this entire boss fight, but the boss will not take damage while he's dashing like that. So we want to see Terranort dash sometimes, because he's pretty much always going to dash if he's like at a medium distance away from you. I'm just going to deflect some of those because he was being rude. But
yeah, specific attack he has, like or Solemn and Dark Impulse, where he will just commit to an attack and has Brick Wall, so he can't be knocked out of it. Are like the best that you could see him use.
Okay, so he's going for a meteor attack here. When you try to shot lock him while he's doing this attack, he will just like teleport over and over again. So if you can manage to build up a shot lock while he's charging that attack, it is good. But unfortunately, you usually can't. So what I was saying about dashing, we don't want him to dash too much while we're shot locking because he won't take damage during it. But also, please don't kill me. But also, we don't want him to dash away from our shot lock, because the amount of focus gauge that depletes is dependent on how long you are holding the shot lock before it reaches max. And so we really want to make sure that we're always charging up to max as quickly as possible, so that way we can get 3 shot locks per focus bar. And I've been getting very unlucky on the amount of times he's dashing. Yeah, see, like, the fact that he's dashing twice there once he's already close enough is just bad luck. If he's close enough to use another move, we want him to ideally use a different move.
Yeah, with one more Mega Ether, though, you should be fine.
Oh, did I still have one? I thought I'd already used all 3.
Yeah,
okay,
no,
then we should be good, yeah. Okay, good, yeah. I almost got that one to full.
Even if he didn't at this health, deflecting a Dark Folly would probably kill him.
Yeah, and I could just Fire Surge him. Like,
that too.
Yeah. Oh, this is... Okay, that is the only move that I, like, pretty much ever die to in this fight, so I got scared. Yeah, I forgot that he was going to follow up with that. Here we go. Now he should die. Alright, good. That's the end of the Terra run. I could soft reset here, but just for kind of, like, completeness sake, we will, like... we'll basically save the game afterwards, since we are doing all stories here.
He's just doing this to placate me.
Yeah, pretty much. Do I also need to create the save data? I don't, right? Like the clear data?
No.
Okay.
Because that would just
There's no
be
point.
making
Yeah.
a different final episode.
Yeah.
With a different output.
That's what I
It
thought.
doesn't matter.
Okay, so now we are going to start up a new game, and for the remaining two characters, we are going to be playing on critical mode, and we are not going to be leveling up. We will still be leveling up commands, because that's different, but the characters themselves will not be leveling up. They'll be staying at level 1 the entire time. That is not just for swag or, for a fun category. It's actually the fastest way to run each of these characters. Aqua and Ventus are both fastest on critical mode level 1, which is why I'm doing this run the way I am. And I forgot to switch my notes over, so let's do that very quickly. There we go. All right. So Ventus, all the basics are the same, but he is going to play quite differently. If you want to talk about just some of the changes, Adam, while I'm focusing on the orbs here.
Yeah, so I guess if Terra you consider like the tanky DPS, Ven is the agile, like balanced of the characters. His strength and magic are both even. One is not better than the other, but he does attack faster than Terra, which you can see almost immediately. But he also is not as tanky. It will be easier to die on Ven than it would be on Terra, regardless of difficulty. Just if they're both on the same difficulty, Ven will die in less hits.
I was worried that wouldn't hit, but they helped me out a bit. So I'm trying to hit these orbs into each other, but on the first one, they were just staying too high up in the air for me to hit them appropriately. That was a pretty good start to the third wave, though. Oh, that would have been...
If you're paying
Great.
attention to Hobbs' shot lock, you see that unlike Terra, Ven started with Flame Salvo, so we have that to begin with. You're not going to see it very often outside of this fight, and
Yeah.
when you do, it's not for damage.
Yeah,
There's big thing with shot locks on level 1 critical, they basically do no damage.
Yeah, there is one fight that we'll be using it extensively in, and then it'll pretty much not show up again for the most part. And that fight is very early on, because we just don't have a lot of tools yet.
Yeah, the way that level 1 works in this game is that Hobbs will be equipping an ability called Zero EXP. With that ability equipped, the game now takes a different scaling method for your damage. Essentially, all of your single hits for all of your attacks or commands have a damage floor that they will be boosted up to. Whereas without Zero EXP on, if your strength or magic is not high enough, then it will be chip damage, which is much lower than that floor. Which is why level 1 crit is faster than non-level 1. We don't have to waste time going out of our way to level up to keep our stats high enough to match the level 1 scaling damage.
All right, in that time, I did a menu to put on a sliding dash for movement and for damage, and I also went ahead and sold an item or a command we don't need, and bought some ethers that we're going to be using soon. Now we're heading into the dwarves. What? I didn't know he could hit you like that. That's fine.
Spacing. Yeah.
I guess my spacing seemed okay though.
I think maybe just a little too far away.
That's fine. We got into the command style. That's what's important. So if you want to talk about kind of the dwarves here, because I have to focus really hard for this part.
So we're beating up the 7 dwarves. We asked them for help. They said no, and now they're hiding in these boxes, and we have to go and destroy the boxes that they're hiding in so that they will help us. A lot of this comes down to spacing, as we mentioned with that first box. Some of these dwarves don't care how close we get, like the one he's hitting now. You can just destroy the box's health and he's good. Other ones, if you get too close, they start running away from you, which is why we want to take advantage of abilities like Sliding Dash or Fever Pitch to just do damage when you're close enough to destroy the box before they run away.
Yeah, because once they run away, either you're going to miss or they will interrupt your attacks. Oh,
and then we built up Fever Pitch specifically to hold its finisher for the last dwarf, which is in that cart instead of
I'm gonna
a
wait
box,
over
because
here.
it has a much higher health bar, and Fever Pitch will destroy it.
Yeah, ideally you can get it when it's... There we go. When it's on that other part of the track. I'm not often on cycle for it. This time I was, or I was so far off cycle that that I could have gotten it. But it was a little close, so I decided to play it safe. No real reason to risk it in this kind of scenario. But honestly, overall, those dwarves went fine. Like, a couple very minor things. But overall, we still got to do the strategy for everything that we wanted to.
There was a question in the chat. I don't think I can really answer it because this was the very first game I learned to speedrun, but they asked if you think this game is easy to learn.
So I would say that almost no Kingdom Hearts game is easy to learn, personally. However, I would say that this, and especially, let me just do this menu real quick, especially Aqua Critical Level 1, are very accessible speedruns. Like, they are very good introductions to the Kingdom Hearts games in general, for speedrunning. So if you are interested in running a Kingdom Hearts game, this, or especially the Aqua character run, are very good options.
So if you're not comfortable with Birth by Sleep, maybe stick to the beginner categories first and then bump up to Aqua Crit once you're more comfortable with the game. But
potentially, but I would still say that, like, Aqua Critical mode, like, I would say that for sure for Terra. But I'd even say that, like, Aqua Critical Level 1, just because the resources are also out there for it, it does help a lot. So unfortunately this enemy got in the way, so I decided to option to play to the Fever Pitch there. I wanted to save that for something else, but that's okay.
We're using mini command a lot in this. It makes the enemy small enough to just step on, and that kills them instantly.
We're just going to ignore that enemy. It doesn't exist.
And then coming up, JHobz is going to do a fun trick. Snow White actually needs to be... Yeah.
Yeah.
So you'll notice JHobz was using a V-action command on these trees throughout this. With these last two trees here, if Snow White just takes her path up to those two trees like the game wants to, the reaction command doesn't work, and you have to sit through the trees attacking her again. If you can get Ven in front of her and delay her movement a little bit, it allows the two trees to sync up, so the reaction command just works the first time.
Yeah, basically...
You essentially have to try to go out of her way to fix the pathing.
Yeah, oh my... Floods, like I said, are the most frustrating things because they can go underground. But that's fine. Yeah, the trees in particular, just like they have an awkward amount of spacing to them, where you would either want each of them to, like, be spread out enough where you do the command twice, or come close enough where you can do the command once. But they do this weird thing where, like, the second one will cancel your first, if you don't, like, delay her or wait long enough. So now I am going to be making use of Flame Salvo for a little bit here, but mostly just because we don't have a good way of taking out this boss yet, and we want to stay invulnerable for a lot of it. I don't like how close it is to me.
It still does okay damage because this is the first word in the game, so it's not expecting your stats to be above level 1, level 2 stats. But outside of here, 0 EXP's damage scaling doesn't affect shot lock, so it just becomes chip damage pretty quickly.
Right. No, I still had another ether. I got a little mixed up because I didn't because I did that slide dash out of order, but that's fine. I'm just gonna use 9 here, and we'll clean them up with commands. Oh, if I can just hit
this
him.
fight was a good instance of where you want to try to aim for the lower end of those shot lock brackets. So I mentioned the big one for Flame Salvo is 11 to 14. Any number from 11 to 14 would do the same amount of damage, but charging up to 14 wastes a little bit more of the gauge than stopping at 11.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's pretty particular. If I used 12 too many times, I would actually not have enough focus gauge with just using ethers to do all 4 of the shot locks that I want to do. So it's pretty particular. And now we're heading into the highest, like, random world for Ventus, and the one, I'd say, like, honestly, like, the one downside to Ven's run. I really like the Ventus run because there's a lot of variety to it and stuff, but his one downside is that there is a heavy RNG section in it, and it's in this world. I was supposed to go to that shop. Let's do that. Not go the wrong way.
Yeah, so we mentioned throughout Terra's run, you're looking for D-Link jobs, you're looking for Crystal jobs. Ven takes all of those jobs and combines them into needing them into this one spot.
Yes. So we're going to put on a couple sliding dashes and then go. So we are going to do a quick little skip / sequence break here. I think this one is technically like a sequence break, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it expects you to come in through this upper area instead of going out through it.
Yeah. So there we go. We lock onto an enemy, we jump and start to fall, and then have a specific attack with Ven that just like works in a dash style similar to the enchanted step we saw earlier. And as a result, we're able to like just make our way up there. We're now picking up some items we need to for story. And then we're going to start the grind. Gonna use the Terra D-Link to pull me down quicker, and because we want to grind Terra D-Link levels. So we have to get Terra's D-Link from level 0 to 2, and we need to get Snow White's D-Link. I unfortunately grabbed all of the D-Link stuff. We need to get Snow White's D-Link as well. Where did the yarn ball go? There it is. We need to get Snow White's D-Link from 0 to 2 as well. And we need to get at least 3 fleeting crystals. It's really important that we get at least 3.
Yeah, and since we don't really have any good, like, Magnet Thunder sort of combos to just go through great waves of enemies, this Yarn Ball is the best option we have. If you kill an enemy with this, it prevents you from gaining experience from it.
There we go.
But since we're on level 1, we don't care about that experience anyways, so it's perfect.
Okay. I'm just going to put them to sleep so I don't have to deal with them for a second. Oh,
and as I mentioned earlier with D-Link upgrades, you'll see JHobz go out and try to re-enter the D-Link after getting that first upgrade because he won't be able to get the second until he has done that at least once.
No, don't kill me. Okay.
That was close.
That was very close. All right, there we go. We're gonna do a little more grinding here. Now would be a perfect time if you've got anything to chat about when it comes to the marathon.
Well, I do have another donation coming in from the other racer from the last race, saying thank you for having our Soul Blazer race, and their donation for the 10 dives which means sending themselves, and they're ready for their race tomorrow with for Crystallis, so that'll be fun. Yeah, there are some good. Still some good runs coming up later in the marathon. So I think good to catch those tomorrow.
Oh, I'm not getting good luck here.
How many fleeting crystals do you have so far?
0.
No.
Yeah, I saw a shimmering drop, but I don't think I've had any fleetings drop yet.
And
hey, there's one.
Did you explain Treasure Raid since I mentioned it back in Terra or no?
No, if you want to.
Okay, yeah, so in Snow White's D-Link, we've been using Grumpy. That is effectively Treasure Raid. It's a strike raid, and every time it hits an enemy, it can cause them to drop any of their drops. We're specifically using it on these shoegazers because they can drop binds and fleeting crystals. We want the fleeting crystals most, but the binds are also used for the sell at a shop later on. We want at least 3. Ideally, we can get. Well, we want 4 fleeting crystals. We can live with 3 because we can get a 4th from a chest later.
So ideally, you pretty much expect to come through here. Okay, there's 2 fleeting crystals. You expect to come through here, or you hope to come through here just like twice, like where you only have to leave the room once. But we are not getting so lucky, unfortunately. That's a hungry. There's a fleeting. Okay, so we have enough fleeting now. But we do still need the second... are we good? Okay. We do still need the second Snow White D-Link drop. Which is really unfortunate. So I might as well keep using Treasure Raid to try to get some useful things.
To get an idea of the luck, you probably hit those shoe enemies like a couple dozen times and you got the 3 crystals. You hit 1 bruiser twice and got 2 crystals.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to get D-Link drop. There we go. All right, good. Now we have everything we need. We can leave. I'm praying I counted correctly, but I'm pretty sure I got 3 fleetings. I did get a pulsing, I saw. So that's at least good. And now we need to switch Terra's D-Link to level 1 because we're about to use it. And you'll see why in this boss fight. All right. So at the beginning here, we're going to immediately go into Terra's D-Link, and then I'm going to hit the boss here and then intentionally take damage. And unfortunately, that was too much damage. If we take a little bit less damage, then we can take a second hit, and that second hit will allow us to get, like, I think it's what, an attack boost or something?
So Terra's D-Link passive is a Berserk charge, essentially, or Berserk.
Yeah.
To where if you're in critical health, you do extra damage.
Yeah, but unfortunately, if we get hit at the amount of health I got hit at, the chance of dying from the next hit from the boss is too high, so we can't chance it. It's not that big a deal, it just makes the fight a little bit slower because we're dealing less damage with every single attack. Honestly, I've seen way worse grinds than the one we got there, so...
Yeah, it's not great, but you can live with it.
Yeah. And now we are going to Enchanted Minion.
The other reason why we leveled up Terra's D-Link is an upcoming fight against a bunch of goons.
Yeah. We'd almost rather not use it, though. We just kind of have to. It's the best we got.
Yeah, we mentioned some positive passives that these D-Links have. Terra's D-Link also has a negative passive, for the most part. It has an auto guard, to where if the game thinks that you should block, it will make you block, regardless of whether or not you actually wanted to.
Yeah, which might sound useful. It's not. It in fact will just get you killed more often than not in this run. So we're going to hope that it never happens, but if it does, we're going to hope it doesn't kill me.
I don't think we also mentioned it. Whenever JHobz uses a sliding dash, he's trying to hit an enemy along the way because that allows him to cancel out of the animation into a dodge roll faster at the end of the skill use. Yeah,
it's pretty tough to do. I'm particularly not all that great at it outside of a few instances, but hopefully I should get it right in this next room. So I'm going to aim at this enemy, slide and dash, and then I can roll as soon as the slide dash is over. I'm also intentionally trying to use all of these sliding dashes before I have targeted an enemy, because that will make me go the full, like, maximum distance of the sliding dash. Whereas if I've targeted the enemy, it's going to, like, bring me directly to that enemy. So if it's not at the maximum distance away, then I won't get the full, like, effectiveness of that slide dash. Of course, now I get another. Okay, we didn't take a lot of damage from that. We're okay.
Yeah, so this fight is just a bunch of goons spawning in. Sonic Blade is really nice for taking them out if you can chain them together. Unfortunately, if Sonic Blade ever doesn't hit an enemy, it just stops you from using the rest of the attack.
Yeah, so the goons are extremely mean. They're really rough in both Ventus and Terra's campaigns here. And you saw why there. Basically, they deal a lot of damage for a level 1 character, and they can attack very quickly. Oh, that was unfortunate that didn't land. And they can even attack me while I'm mid-Sonic Blade, which is extremely annoying.
And Terra's D-Link does not have a way to heal. The goons will drop some minor amount of healing gold. Does he? Oh,
yeah, it's right there.
Never mind.
But you don't often want to use it, because A, like, obviously time loss, but B, if you're standing still for too long or near the enemies for too long, you're putting yourself in a risky position where you might auto-block. Uh-oh. However, this is an instance where I will use it. Oh, see, yeah, like, I was locked into place there for a bit, because the game was about to try to auto-block until I got hit. So you basically, like, that's one of the reasons we use Sonic Blade here, is that it keeps moving you around, so you're less likely to get, locked into place blocking. That's not great. See, I did not press block there. That was just the game thinking I wanted to.
And like, you might think to yourself, we have Aqua Dealing already. We could have leveled that up in the previous world to have access to Magnet Thunderhill. None of these enemies drop a drive refill either, so we can't abuse the whole entering and exiting a dealing to refill the drive gauges. So even if we tried to use like Aqua Dealing's Magnet Thunder, we'd have to wait on the magnet cooldown constantly, which would be slower.
I don't think I was supposed to use that second slide dash, but that's fine. And I had slightly wrong angle there, but that's okay. Slide dash is still going to be like useful for distance, even if you slightly mess it up. I am going to wait back here a little bit though, because I needed to wait for the slide dash to get off cooldown, because we're going to use it for to clear that gap, and then we're going to use it to get our backup fleeting crystal here, since I didn't get enough in the grind. Why is this enemy up here? He's just trying to be difficult. Oh, I'm not supposed to use one here. I'm thinking of the next time I'm in that section. That's fine. That was just a little bit of a waste because we have to wait for this portal to change. And then this is where I wanted to use one, but my angle was slightly off. The slide dashes here are honestly pretty hard to use effectively because the enemies spawn so close to you. And now we're going to do a menu where we take strike raid and sliding dash. I think, yeah, that was the correct sliding dash. And then a fleeting crystal to get a magic haste. And then we're going to put on 3 sleeps and an item called a balloon letter. Oops. And also payback raid for the magic haste.
So you equip those sleeps because Maleficent put Aurora to sleep, right? So you're going to do that back to her?
Oh, yeah. We're just going to let her sleep and wait for her one true love or whatever it is. I don't remember the plot of the movie, but no, we put on those sleeps for later, and we put on the balloon letter in order to refill our D-Link gauge, because we want to use Snow White here. Now, I did intentionally get hit there at the beginning because it causes Snow White's command gauge to fill up significantly faster. Why did she spawn goons? That's so mean. So this is going to be very scary now. Thankfully, up here, the goons are not going to be able to hit me. And I am invulnerable while I'm using Snow White's finisher here, Sweet 7. Wow, that one did try to hit me, though. Oh, and she's DMing. Oh, no.
For the Disney character D-Links, they have special conditions to be met to fill up the command gauge quicker. For Snow White's being in critical health. We'll see Mickey's D-Link later. That one is for surviving from being hit via second chance or once more.
I got kind of lucky.
And then there'll be another one later on with Peter Pan that we'll explain when you get it.
So Maleficent there, when she goes into that kind of like galaxy attack, she cannot take any damage while she's in it. She can also do it for not as long as she wants, but it's not always the same amount of time, I believe, because that was way shorter than normal, which allowed me to still get some damage in during that finisher, even though I was mostly using it just to survive the DM and hopefully kill some goons along the way, because when she spawns goons, that fight gets so much scarier, and thankfully they cooperated.
Alright, so you're going to go beat up Vanitas now, right?
Yeah, so we're going to lock onto him, try to swing at him. Uh-oh, he dodged. Oh, no! So you take a little bit of a scripted death there, and then you head into the proper fight with Vanitas. But even the proper fight with Vanitas, we're not going to fight fair if we can avoid it, because he doesn't fight fair. So we're going to instead roll forward, try to sleep him immediately. He's going to cartwheel out of midair, because that's fair. And then we're now going to try to keep in a sleep loop, but I don't think I'm going to be able to here. Thank you, Mickey made it possible.
Yeah, so fun advice if you're playing a Kingdom Hearts game, try to use status effects on bosses. Sometimes they work.
Yeah, and I'm going to try to weave in some other attacks occasionally here, but only when I'm like very confident that I can still put him back to sleep. Because I'm very bad at this and will often die if I try to weave in too many attacks. Uh-oh. Okay, good. So if he gets out of the sleep loop, things get rough, and I messed up.
Yeah, so as quickly as JHobz died in that first fight in this, you would die just as quickly in this fight. Like, that wasn't easier to die in at all. So if JHobz gets hit again, it could be a game over.
Oh, my, it was on the wrong command. Okay, okay. So yeah, we actually, like, let Mickey do a lot of the damage here. Okay, now I should be able to finish him off with this. I was wrong.
You can shot lock.
Thank you. I definitely almost just died there. That shot lock was so greedy. I didn't want to have to try to run away from the fire orbs he was attacking me with, so I just went for a single fireball shot lock, which means I did not have iframes for very long, but it was all I could do. Oh, man.
Yeah, shot lock does chip damage, but that chip damage is enough when he's at 1 health.
Yeah.
And Mickey being a party member cannot end a fight for us. We had to land the final blow.
All right. So, as I mentioned, we are going to use Cinderella on every character for the same reason that we did in Terra, in order to just get up to higher places. That is the less interesting of the 2 times we're going to use it for Ventus. I didn't get a Wellspring drop, right? I'm pretty sure I didn't.
No, you did not have a Wellspring.
Yeah. So Wellspring drops come from those green scrapper enemies, and we would have liked to get one when we did... Hello? When we were doing the grind with like the Yarn Ball and Snow White, we would have really liked to get a Wellspring drop because it would let us skip that chest there, but it's not very common. You do at least
get to skip the forcing chest because you got plenty
of those.
I did,
yeah, that's true.
You had like 3 of them.
I did notice that earlier, but had already forgotten, so I'm glad you're keeping track because I would have
Say
forgotten.
It again for when you forget.
Yeah,
deep space.
I would have forgotten once we went to deep space. All right, so we have to do a pretty big shop here. So we're going to sell a Tornado Strike, all of our binds. We have 6 of them. That's a lot. And all of our sleeps and our payback raid that does not have a magic haste. Then we're going to buy a Fire Dash. We're going to buy 4 Thunders. We're going to buy 5 Magnets. An Ignite, a Confuse, and a Balloon Letter. Then we're going to change our deck to have 5 Magnets and 2 Thunders, I believe.
If you watch the Terra portion, you might have an idea of what we're setting up to do.
There we go. All right, so now we need to drop down here. I need to wait just a little bit. We're going to use Magnet into Thunder. Not all these enemies got grouped up, so we're going to use Magnet into Thunder again. There we go.
Another forcing physical because you didn't have enough of those.
Now we need to kill a few enemies here. I think I was supposed to do an attack, but because I'm already in Thunderbolt, it's a little weird. Now we're actually going to drop down onto this fountain in order to get up onto the right side. Where we're going to Magnet Thunder again. All the enemies should die. We're also going to open this chest for a command called Counter Rush. And then we're going to go to Mickey because he has 2 sliding dashes. Thanks, Mickey. We're done with you.
And that chest we just opened for Counter Rush is a good example of picking up a command and not caring about it for half an hour.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we will not care about that one until later. And now that I just killed all those enemies, that leveled everything up that I needed to be leveled at this time. So we have a whole lot of stuff we can meld, and we are going to meld a whole lot of stuff. So Arrow and Magnet with a Fleeting Crystal, then a bunch of Magnets with Fleeting Crystals. And we're getting a lot of magic hastes out of these, as well as Magneras. And now you get a Thundara as well. Our deck is completely empty because we melted everything that was in it. And we're now going to put on a whole bunch of stuff.
And all those magic hastes increases the rate at which the magic specific commands take to recharge.
Yeah.
If you don't know exactly what type of command is which, you can look at
Well-
the icon at the bottom left next to a command. If it has the wizard hat, it's magic. If it has the keyblade, it's strength or
Mhm.
physical.
And now we don't need to grind out here like we did for Terra, thankfully, because this is honestly, I hate dealing with these enemies. They're very frustrating to grind with. We need to head into the Trinity armor fight. So unlike with Terra, it's extremely easy to die in this fight on critical mode. Like, honestly, I even died in Terra Beginner once with it. This boss can do a lot of damage, but it's very easy to die here in both Ventus and Aqua. So we're going to try to get into Firestorm again. Need to make sure I block the boss here. We need to wait for its third charge, and then we are going to use Firestorm from the side to try to deal as much damage to as many pieces as possible. Then we're going to use the same combo we just used in order to try to get into Firestorm again. We thankfully broke the legs.
Boss
Go ahead.
charges at the beginning of the fight like that, you can actually know where he's going to charge because he targets the characters in a specific order. For Ven, he targets you, then he targets Terra, then he targets Aqua. For Aqua, he targets you, then Terra, then Ven. When you play as Terra, he just targets you all 3 times because this boss hates Terra, I guess.
Okay, so ideally we don't end up seeing that little, like, circle around laser attack, but it's pretty common that we do. At least it's pretty common that I do. Now here, the main important thing is I have to make sure I don't accidentally use Fire Dash, because it'll move me in a way that I might just get killed by the boss. And then we use Firestorm to hopefully finish it, and hey, I will take a no-death Trinity armor for Ven crit.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah, that is, and honestly, that went pretty well. Like, outside of having to chase down the laser.
Yeah, all the Firestorm finishers did good damage.
Yeah, that is like the key to that fight is being good or being bad at that fight is making sure that you're positioning your Firestorm finishers well. And even then, there is still like some randomness to it. How much damage your party members deal is random. You know, whether they decide to attack or not, whether those attacks land or not. And it's also just if your Firestorm lands or not is going to depend somewhat on just kind of some practical RNG.
Say hi to Mickey for the sliding dashes again.
Bye, Mickey. And then we use the Fire Dash to get over here.
All the sliding dash usages of Mickey gets made up for near the end of the game when he actually is very useful against the
Yes,
boss.
it's true. As long as that goes well, that boss fight is very cool, but can be very frustrating.
But yeah, I mentioned this before back on Terra, but you saw how we were doing all of those fire damage, like Firestorm finishers against that boss. You might wonder why we didn't bother making any fire boosts like we did on Terra. The scaling for level 1 runs, it completely disregards any boosts that you have. Fire boosts, finish boosts, combo finish boosts, none of those are put into the damage scaling formulas at all on level 1. So we don't have to waste any time with making them. They don't help us out at all. But that also goes to show just how much damage level 1 does when Firestorm's finisher was doing that much on Ven with no boosts. And it was very comparable to Terra with 3 fire boosts.
Yeah. So probably shouldn't use the Zero Gravira there, but otherwise that fight went pretty much fine. Which is good, because I'm honestly pretty bad at that fight. Like, that one is really, really easy to mess up, because a lot of the kind of skill in Ventus's run comes down to being able to stand in specific places and cast Magnet and know, like, exactly which pixel you're going to stand on. And that sounds kind of silly, but it's honestly really hard. And then on top of that, being able to, like, pay attention to all of the enemy health bars, the enemy spawns, making sure you know whether, like, a wave completely died or not. Because if a wave didn't finish off and then you started throwing up another magnet for the next wave, then you are putting yourself at a disadvantage because maybe that magnet's not in the right position, or it's going to end before the next wave can get in there and you can use your thunders. So
yeah,
even,
especially with between both magnet positioning and sliding dash.
Yeah.
The game really tests your knowledge of, do you know where these enemies spawn?
Yeah, and honestly, I don't for some of them. I've gotten a lot better about it though. Now we're going to go with a very cool skip, and one of the main reasons I like this run a lot, which is called Early Super Dash, or sorry, Super Glide. We are going to use Cinderella. I might have messed it up. Yeah, that's okay. I knew this might take a couple tries. We just have to get our D-Link gauge back. The camera kind of gets wonky here, which is honestly the hardest part about it for me. But the idea...
Yeah, so
go ahead, yeah, please, so I can focus.
Okay, the idea here, we explained, the way that this mechanic works is that you lock onto an enemy that's above you. There's no enemy that's we can make naturally spawn above us here. So instead, we knock this flood over closer to this ledge by hitting it a couple of times. Jump and magnet so that it's a decent height above us. Then we jump forward slightly.
There we go.
Enchanted Step to gain that height and get launched uphill.
Yeah, the tricky part is that the amount of height you'll get out of... nice. The amount of height you'll get out of that Enchanted Step is, like, very dependent on several factors. I'm going to do this menu real quick, and then we'll talk about those factors.
You also have limited time to set up, because if you just let the magnet continuously hit the flood will just die, and then you have to boom transition again to bring it back. So you are under a time limit to get all of that going.
But it really is worth it because you get Super Glide, and I forgot to put Counter Rush on here. There we go. Which is going to be much faster movement for us throughout. But yeah, the height you get is dependent not only on where the enemy is above you, but how much you let yourself fall after your jump, and how like far away you are from the enemy as well, both like horizontally and vertically. So it's really tricky. It takes a lot of time to learn how to do that skip, but once you can do it, it's like really cool that you can get Super Glide that early in this run, and you don't do it in any of the other characters.
One of the most precise movement tricks besides Kobe.
Yeah.
In this game.
Now we have the minigame, the Disneytown minigame for Ventus, which is Ice Cream Beat, which is funny because in Aqua we're going to make a whole lot of use of ice cream, but we don't care about it with Ven. The worst part about this is just that it's a rhythm game that is not like super great, but it is fast.
Short.
Yes, it is the shortest of the 3 minigames we're going to be doing. And I just have to get 1050 points, and then I can kind of take a sip of water.
Yeah, when it comes to the 3 characters minigames, Terra's, you don't get a break. Ven is basically a drink break. You can get a few seconds at the end. And then Aqua's is just you can leave your chair for a minute break.
Yeah.
Which is really nice, since this is the later one in the run.
Yeah, it's a little annoying when you're running Aqua on her own, but when you're doing an All Stories run, it's like a much needed break, so it's very helpful. And yeah, we're done with Disneytown now for Ventus, and we're going to head to Olympus Coliseum. This is another fight where like precise Magnera positioning is really critical. I don't know that I'm going to be all that great at it, but the main thing is trying to collect as many floods in each magnet as possible, so that way they can't go underground. Unfortunately, one of them decided to kind of run away at the beginning, so I'm just gonna have to hope it gets caught by something else. I thought I was holding a direction there, but I got a guard out, so I guess I wasn't.
I will say we did get a $50 donation from Man Bear Paradox. No comment.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, folks, should get those donations in, because we are going to have some time to read some stuff in Aqua's run, as we were just alluding to. And No Kid Hungry is a great cause. Oh, what the heck? That's weird. So yeah, please get those in.
If you enjoy Kingdom Hearts, there's a Kingdom Hearts 3 Super Boss incentive tomorrow.
Yeah, highly recommend. The Kingdom Hearts 3 Super Bosses are like really tough, so highly recommend donating for that. And now the hardest part of the run, which is me remembering I have Super Glide, and thankfully I did remember, so that's good. It is so easy to just not remember for a while.
So this is really kind of the unfortunate lull in Ven's part of the run, which is kind of mini game and then a mini game and then a mini game.
Yeah, it's a shame that they put this. Well, I mean, technically you can do these worlds in any order, but it is most efficient to do Olympus Coliseum right after Disney Town. So it's a shame that you have these mini games at the same time. But there are 2 mini games with the urns here. The first one, you just have to get 15 points. It doesn't matter how many Herc gets. The second is a little longer, and you have to specifically beat Herc. And it's not hard to beat Herc, but you ideally want to get a ton of points early so that you can then spend the rest of it like stretching or taking a break, resting your hands. So you do hope that you can get a lot of points early. Similar to the Yarn Ball, the barrel here is just really handy because it takes everything out in one hit. Whereas normally, like you'll see me do here, you have to actually do a full combo on the small urns, and the big urns will take even more than that.
It's also Hulk's best option to get points, so just keeping it away from him is good.
Yeah. Also lets you hit the other barrels as well.
We also want to specifically not use any commands in this, because whenever you go into a command style, it pauses the game, including the timer in this. So we never want to go into a command style, since that would just elongate the minigame.
Yep. If it didn't pause the timer, it would actually be like a good option, because it would theoretically pause Herc, and it would give you a better way to take out urns if there were no barrels around. But with that, do you have anything else that you'd like to tell us about the charity or about the marathon that's been going on, or maybe just what some of the upcoming runs are, Troy?
Sure. We do have some great stuff going on in this marathon. It's great charity that we got benefiting No Kid Hungry. Yeah, so it's benefiting and supporting food banks and community groups. And it provides emergency grants, expert guides to schools and community groups to help feed kids. So excellent charity. And yeah, there's going to be some other things going on. Later today, we do have some Pac-Man 99 just after this. That'll be fun to see.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, fun run to see. And then there is some other things going on tomorrow. As you mentioned, the Kingdom Hearts 3 is actually the last run of the marathon here on the schedule, unless there's like a bonus game. I don't think there is. And then, yeah, there's Chrono Trigger. Yeah, Bowser's Super Mario 3D World.
3D World's a super cool run.
Yeah, Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess. So yeah, some really... Oh, and Chrono Trigger as well. It's good to mention.
A lot of good stuff, folks. If you aren't already following SpeedGaming, be sure to do so. And if you're interested in more Kingdom Hearts runs, highly recommend following the directories on Twitch, specifically like Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 plus 2.5. What's it? HD 1.5 plus 2.5 remix, I think. That is another good way to like find a lot of the games, but then there's also Kingdom Hearts 3 and 0.2 or the 2.8 collection as well. So follow that, because a lot of the runners of Kingdom Hearts games are super talented and far more talented than I. That last fight was just using magnets, but specifically not rolling, because Herc likes to kind of interrupt you with a reaction command. But now we're into the second of 3 space fights we're going to see. Oops, I used the wrong attack. There we go. This is the second scariest of them. Terra's is not very scary at all. This one's just kind of like medium. It can be really rough if you get some bad luck, but it usually isn't too bad. And then when we get to Aqua's space battle, it'll suck. Okay, I had to say it usually isn't too bad, but
this one punishes you for being greedy.
Yeah, and it's also a good reminder of how quickly you can die in this run, since it's critical mode level 1, which is the hardest way to play the game.
And for anyone who's afraid of this fight taking 10 minutes, we don't have to deplete its entire health ball.
Yeah, we do this little dash attack because it is our best method of dealing damage while still also providing the most potential for safety there. See, that was just kind of rough luck because I guarded but didn't have the guard get deflected initially, just because of the positioning between me and the boss. And in this game, when you guard something and it actually like properly does land, like an attack does try to hit you through the barrier, it will extend the length of that barrier like that. But if you don't hit anything, it won't extend it. Dude, I am just getting owned by this attack. Alright. It makes sense that the boss would put me in my place here because I've been having really good fights on this lately where I haven't been dying. So, makes sense. But at least that third one was pretty quick.
You can skip the porcelain chest.
Thank you. Yeah, there was a chest over to the right there that takes maybe 2 seconds to pick up, but...
And you made up for it by pausing.
By pausing. I knew you were going to give me crap about that.
Hey, you give it to me all the time. I have to return the people.
That's true. That's true. All right, so this is another fight where we're just going to... Oh, I actually should have stayed to the right there. Where we're just going to kind of put magnets in specific spots to try to take out the enemies as best we can. You actually want as many enemies as possible in the magnets, because they will just kind of like jostle each other around and cause each other to take more damage. We also have the tier 2, or actually tier 3, right?
I mean, if we're calling Blade Charge tier 2, then Wing Blade's tier 2.
Okay. Yeah, tier 2 command style Wing Blade, which just looks cool. We're not actually using it for anything, but it looks pretty cool, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's the aesthetic command style.
Yeah.
If you thought Sora's ultimate weapon having swords in KH3 was the first time, then no, Wing Blade also has swords. You see Ventus isn't using a Keyblade anymore?
Alright, we're just not going to try to group these up. We're going to do them separately. So the real trick to this fight is you just want to make sure you catch the floods as quickly as possible. Otherwise they'll go underground and pop up who knows where. So a lot of the magnet positioning is just trying to make sure you get them and then group them up with the remaining enemies to take them out. But sometimes it's just a bit tricky to get them all in one group, and I'll just end up splitting the room in half. The room is just basically a little too large for what we have at the time. Just Magnera rather than like a Magnega.
Yeah, those several enemy fights throughout Terra and Ven was just like, it seems like they spaced the enemies just far enough apart that Magnera can't catch them all at once.
Yeah. That previous room just has an anti-gravity mechanic, and that's why we were able to jump super high. And then super glide, just proving its usefulness through a couple rooms there. And now we're going to fight that boss that we were fighting in space. However, we're going to do a bunch of chip damage to it again, except this time we're just going to deal with the fact that we're doing chip damage. I normally would have liked to attack it there, but I was not hovering Ignite going into the fight, so we're going to play it safe.
Part 2 of use status effects on bosses.
Yeah.
Ignite is a damage over time spell. It just sets them on fire and deals ticks of damage. Casting it again will not stack it, but it will refresh it.
Yeah, it'll reset the timer for how long it'll last.
Stitch also does a lot of damage in this if he can actually land his hits. So
yeah.
it's helpful if he does land those.
He's doing some. The boss is not ever going up to the wall, which is both a good and a bad thing. It can basically just sit in place for a moment. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. He dashed, he redirected himself.
Yeah, he faked out.
Yeah. Yeah, so you just get one shot in that fight. If the boss ever sees you and decides to attack you. So I was trying to use... Ignite cannot kill a boss. It will just, keep dealing a lot of damage to it. And this boss will not really attack you if it can't see you. So that's why I'm kind of hiding around this pillar. But unfortunately, it decided to see me. Like, I need to see it long enough to use a shot lock on it in order to finish it off. And it decided to look like it was going to dash one way and then dash the other way around the pillar, so I was not able to lock on for the shot lock. Because while you're targeting the shot lock, you're still completely vulnerable. It's only once you have actually initiated the attack that you get iframes. All right, so there we go. Now that was how it was supposed to go. But that is that boss. Sometimes it'll just kill you.
That's level 1 crit in general.
True. All right. Now we're going to head to Neverland, which, again, is our final Disney World. So that means we're getting near the end of Ventus's run. Neverland is a bit longer than the others in all 3 of the characters, but... I always forget there's 3 cutscenes there. I always want to say it's 2. We are going to do just a tiny bit more grinding with Ventus for command points in order to level things up. So we're going to use a magnet here, and everything got caught in it, so we're good. And I guess we're going to have to grind more, or they already got to a higher level earlier and I didn't notice. I think probably need to grind more, though. All right. So you want to talk about the kind of core mechanic we're going to use in this fight?
Yeah, so the fight will open. We'll just use Magnet Thunder to knock out these waves of floods. The next wave of enemies is a bunch of mandrakes that are all spread out super far across this room. So we have to take them out individually. So instead, JHobz will enter eventually the Snow White D-Link.
I'm dead, I think.
One of Snow White's spells. Yeah, so one of Snow White's spells is Bashful, which is the warp command. Essentially, when you cast warp, there is I think it's like 10%, maybe 20, I'll have to look it up. There's a percentage chance that any enemy on screen just dies instantly, regardless of its health. The downside normally would be that you don't gain any experience or command points from it, but we don't care about that at this point. So, yeah, we just spam Bashful and hope everything dies.
Oh my god. All right,
that
well,
was really good luck.
That luck was so good that the fact that if you could guarantee you got that luck from taking the death I took, it would probably be something that you would do. Like, yeah. That with the death, that was still probably a faster fight than I ordinarily get from that.
Yeah, you would expect, like, I don't know, 5-7 Bashfuls overall. Yeah. So that was really good. It was also really important that JHobz got out of the Snow White D-Link before the fight ended.
Yeah.
Because the game will collect all of those orbs after it decides to take, or it will collect everything and then decide to take you out of the D-Link if you let the game do it naturally, which it would do at the end of the fight.
Oh, they did level up. I just didn't see, or like, I guess they leveled up early.
Yeah.
I was a little confused. I was kind of surprised that they were not leveled up after the first grind, but that's okay. It just means we killed a few more enemies than we needed to. Oops, I'm doing the wrong thing. Confuse. Zero Gravira with a Pulsing Crystal is going to give us the second chance ability on a spell that we don't care about. And then we're going to put 2 Magneras together with the Wellspring Crystal for once more with a spell we do care about, Magnega. Anyone who has played a Kingdom Hearts game probably knows about Second Chance and Once More. But for anyone who doesn't, those 2 abilities in conjunction with one another makes it very difficult for us to get one shot. I'm not quite going to say impossible because there are some ways, but it is very difficult for us to get one shot anymore. We can still get hit to 1 HP very easily, and then if we get hit again, like, we will die, but we should not be able to get one shot. And then this is all you, Adam.
Yeah, so the opening of this fight, JHobz is going to hit Hook into the water, cast Ignite to do some damage, cast Ignite again once it comes off cooldown, enter the Mickey D-Link, allow himself to get hit because being saved by Second Chance or Once More from getting hit in Mickey D-Link will fill up the gauge completely, and then he can use Mickey D-Link's finisher, which does a lot of damage on level 1.
Yeah, so
ideally this should kill.
Yeah. Okay. Because it took me a little bit to get hit there, I was worried that his attack wasn't going to last long enough. But that was a near perfect fight. Like, that was great. That fight is kind of one of the reasons, like, I decided to learn this run in the first place. And it's the reason level 1 critical mode is faster, right? Is you could take out some of the bosses that quickly. Oops, excuse me. It takes us a bit to get to that point for Ventus. However, we are now that we're at that point, we have some really powerful D-links available to us.
Yeah, that fight abuses a lot of different mechanics. We're using Ignite on Hook just to build up some damage beforehand. Then we're sending Hook into an enrage mode where he can't be interrupted out of his attack, when we combine with a very large multi-hit attack to just deal a bunch of damage without causing him to get knocked away from us.
And we're going to do the same thing on the final 2 bosses of Ventus's run.
Just not with Mickey.
Exactly, yeah. So we are going to use the Peter Pan D-Link right there that we now got from Neverland. And I'm going to mostly let it speak for itself. But just know that pretty much the only command in my deck that I care about anymore is this balloon letter.
Yeah, Magnega, Blackout, all of that's just there to give us access to Second Chance and once more.
Yep. And the only reason we still have like Thundaras in here and stuff is because it would just take more time to unequip than to just leave them on. But we only have 2 fights remaining in the run, and they are both one-on-one boss fights. Sorry?
For Ven.
Oh, for Ven, yes. For Ventus specifically. We have to fight Vanitas 2 more times, basically. And we are not going to use Peter Pan D-Link immediately at the beginning here because Vanitas 2 is going to open up with an attack that is pretty much just like really hard to hit him in, or impossible to hit him in, and would deal a lot of damage. So we're going to open with a shot lock that's going to allow us to iframe through the boss. It will deal some chip damage. Honestly, the damage does not matter. But remember how much damage like Flame Salvo was doing for Terra, and then see how little it's doing there. For pretty much the remainder of these... For the remainder of these fights, I'm just going to let Adam talk, because I got to focus up.
Yeah, so JHobz is taking advantage of that counter rush ability we got back in Radiant Garden, where when he guards an attack, he can press X to counter hit. He's using that to fill up the Peter Pan command gauge to get Sword Bill.
I got baited.
Now that he has Sword Bill, he wants to specifically use that with this attack when Vanitas goes underground. Because similar to the Mickey attack, we want to use it at a time when the boss can't be interrupted, so that we can guarantee all of the attacks hit the boss. But yeah, we're specifically waiting for an attack where Vanitas jumps. He has 2 different jump animations, and unfortunately they look very similar, and JHobz...
I didn't get baited by the first one, but I got baited by the second because I would say it's fairly rare that he'll jump backwards twice before DMing. So yeah, unfortunately, the boss broke my ankles. I got juked.
Yeah, the Peter Pan D-Link and Mickey D-Link both abuse the idea that 0 EXP is making it where every individual attack that we do has its damage boosted to the full. And Mickey's D-Link does a lot of hits. Peter Pan's D-Link does the most hits of any single thing in the game. So yeah, at this point we're just waiting for Vanitas to do his move where he dives underground again, because he won't be interrupted once he uses that.
And look at the health bar. There we go. So yeah, that's what I was trying to do the previous time, but because it was not the DM attack, it was his jump back attack, I just completely whiffed. Now we have that balloon letter equipped, so that way we can refill our D-Link gauge back to full, because you need a full D-Link gauge in order to summon a D-Link. And then we're going to try to do a similar thing to this boss fight, but we're going to build it up slightly differently. I'm actually going to get hit here before going into the Peter Pan. That's not good. Yeah, I was mashing guard there, but if he warps out of your hit like that, it's just basically kind of luck whether you're going to be able to block it or not.
On the bright side, the death means your D-Link gauge is 4 now, so you can just go straight into the D-Link rather than having to waste time with the balloon modulator again.
Which means I can just hit the boss immediately. So my attacks here are just to try to prompt him to retaliate with the thing I can guard. Alright,
Yeah,
so...
the special thing with Peter Pan's gauge, like Mickey's filled up by living through second chance and once more. Peter Pan's D-Link fills up by doing hits while in the air. So you notice those single hits weren't filling it up by much, but Counter Rush counts as being in the air based on its animation.
And if you want to explain this part while I'm listening.
Yeah, so this is essentially a minigame with rock, paper, scissors with Vanitas, except rock beats rock, paper, and scissors. So we're just waiting for Vanitas to use an attack, and then we shot lock to clash with him. Doing so, we'll fill up the command gauge a bit. We had to fill it up all the way, then use the last hit, and that finishes the fight. We're specifically waiting for him to start his attack and then use the shot lock, and to try to reduce the amount of focus gauge we're using with each shot lock. If you were to just use 4 shot locks every time, you would run out of gauge.
What? It wouldn't let me attack. I held it all the way to max, and then it didn't let me hit X. That was weird.
Don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, that might have... Maybe something about his, like, the way he moved put him in, like, a weird state. That was very odd. I have not had that happen before. This is going to get a bit scary now.
And JHobz was also asking to be able to listen during that transition, because as you saw with that first one, he can charge at you immediately into the fight. So you want to be listening to Vanitas to hear if he's just going to charge as soon as the fight begins to get that quick shot lock off.
Yeah, and he did the worst thing, which is he delayed a small amount instead of none at all or a full amount.
Yeah, so this time he didn't at all, so JHobz had time to back away and then set up.
Yeah, I don't know why that it wouldn't let me target that one. That was very unfortunate on the earlier part. But.
May have been because of him teleporting, but I'm not sure.
I mean, yeah, it's just usually if he teleports, you can still do it. I don't know. It's weird.
Maybe something with teleporting in distance since he was really far away. I don't know.
There we go. All right, this time we're good.
So
we
this
do 4
last
of
hit
those.
can whiff, and then you have to do the fight again.
Yeah, very rare, but definitely can.
Yeah. I think it's based on your movement. Like, if you just don't move at all before you use it, it should be fine, but I have seen it happen to people.
Also, for the record, it seems like it's based on that command bar building up, and maybe that is a factor, but if you do 4 of those like shot locks, even if the command bar doesn't fill up, you'll still get the prompt for the end. Because I had that happen once. It's really weird.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would not expect it to work that way. So once again, we could soft reset, but just to kind of make this like make sure that like everything is going to be using the characters, the runs we did in this particular run. We're going to save our game here. And now we're going into our final character, but only the 3rd of 5 episodes. And that's because episodes 4 and 5 are very short.
So the fastest single character category for this game.
Yep. Yeah, Aqua Crit is the one that I would say to start with for learning if you want to get into Kingdom Hearts speedrunning at all, and especially if you want to get into Birth by Sleep. You could make a case for beginner, like Adam was saying before. I think just because of like the way that you end up one-shotting some bosses and stuff and the cool factor, I think that it's still good to start with Crit. But yeah, pay attention a lot to this one if you are interested in running this game.
Yeah, I think Aqua Crit is like top 3 or top 4 across the series for a number of people that have like runs in a category.
Yeah, it's definitely up there. I should not have used Quick Blitz, but that's okay. So I unfortunately did not take notes on the orbs fight, so I always just improvise this, but that's also because Aqua kind of has some of the more useful abilities for it. I do want to use the Quick Blitz Whip. Aqua's finisher can hit the orbs and like almost one-shot them. Her shot lock is not the best, but it's not the worst. and her commands being like Blizzard and Thunder are really good for dealing with the orbs. So you can kind of just wing it for that fight, and as long as you try to knock orbs into each other, that helps a lot. Yeah, kind of a self-report there that I don't have notes for that orbs fight, even though I do for Terra and Ben. All right, into Castle of Dreams we go. We're going to have to collect some things in this world, just like we did in the first worlds of the other two characters. A lot of stuff that we'll be holding for later, but also some things that we're just going to get to sell. So that fleeting crystal we are going to need later. Up here, we're going to make use of a cool thing that I kind of glazed over before, which is when you go into a D-Link, you will get zipped down to the ground. So you can use that here to actually save some time. And then sliding dash in Terra's D-Link in order to just, get some distance.
He's not as good as Mickey, though. He only has one sliding dash.
Yeah. And then another cool little movement thing. We're going to use Quick Blitz on this railing in order to launch yourself down to the ground a bit faster. Because characters are fairly floaty in this game, so. The chests we grabbed were a Barrier Surge and a High Potion after the Fleeting Crystal. And both of those are for selling purposes. What am I doing? It's over here.
Gonna go grab the map?
Yeah.
Actually, I think it might be in there.
So now we're going to sell Quick Blitz, Barrier Surge, and the High Potion to give us enough money in order to buy Sliding Dash for movement, so that way we don't always have to use Terra's D-Link, 2 Blizzards, and Sleep, which are all useful commands. And then after we dismiss some text boxes, we're going to put on the Blizzards and the Sliding Dash, and we're going to equip EXP0, or 0 EXP, like we did with Ventus, so that way we remain at level 1 for the entire run.
Now we get a fun escort where the person we're escorting can choose one of 5 different paths through this room, which spawns between 0 and 3 additional groups of enemies.
Yeah, I don't know what all of the paths are, I just know which ones are not great. Thunder, right.
There's one path that doesn't spawn any enemies after this initial group, and you just run straight to the end, so you just kind of hope that happens.
So I'm trying to specifically not kill this enemy, because if I leave him alive, Jacques will run and... Oh, okay.
No, he's too far left to get the good one. But
gotcha.
Second best. Only
yeah. We only got one extra group of enemies to kill, so that's good. You're also going to see the bread and butter of this run, I think. Yeah, I'm just going to use it. Spellweaver. So Spellweaver is a command style, and the finisher for Spellweaver is also called Spellweaver. It is really, really good. Remember how Adam was talking about with Mickey and Peter Pan that it was they were both D-Links that involved extremely rapid hits, multi-hit attacks over and over. That is what Spellweaver is as well. It deals a lot of smaller hits all in a row. Not quite as many as those other things, but still quite a bit, and we can get into it way easier. Oh, that Blizzard ended up hitting. Sweet. But he's jumping. I don't think I wanted to turn him over, but...
It's fine.
Yeah?
Doesn't change anything about the
Okay.
fight.
I didn't know if maybe it would cause him to DM early or something.
Same pattern.
Sweet. Oh, well, so Spellweaver usually finishes that off there, but... Spellweaver just does a lot of damage when you have 0 EXP equipped because of the whole scaling thing.
And the funny thing is, because that is our starting command style, we then have to route around never getting any of the other command styles in the game.
It's actually really easy to accidentally end up in Thunderbolt, or to end up in Firestorm, or the tier 2 Blade Charge. Yeah, so we really have to be careful about which commands we use in order to prevent that from happening. It just turns
nice
out they give
early
you
on
the best one.
Yeah. Early on, it's nice because since Spellweaver's the only one we have, everything only goes into Spellweaver. But beating that boss unlocks Thunderbolt, so now we have to be careful that Thunder is never the majority of what fills up our bowl, because we will get Thunderbolt rather than Spellweaver.
Yep. Slide and dash for movement again, and we're going to grab High Potion, and then go ahead.
Yeah, coming up in this next room, JHobz is going to spawn 2 groups of enemies, and then use some blizzards to get to the Spellweaver finisher, and then spawn another group of enemies, which is like a rare spawn in this game, that he's specifically going to be hitting in order to get the drops, which are ice cream ingredients, because later on in this game, we get to make some ice cream.
Okay, that was very scary, but it went fine. So yeah, those enemies drop a whole bunch of ingredients. We use Spellweaver just to hit them a lot of times because it causes more drops to happen. And we'll talk more about the ice cream later. But now we're going to do the same sequence break we did with Terra, but because Aqua's just a little shorter, we have to go around the backside of the arch here in order to kind of hug that bush.
Fleeting Crystal.
Oh, thank you. I don't know why I forgot about it. I was already thinking about the menu, so... So we're going to open menu at the end of a slide dash just to cut out the end of the slide dash when we come back out of it. Then we're going to switch some commands around here. And we're actually going to use Fission Faraga, the chest that we just sequence broke to get, rather than just sell it. We are going to also sell it, but it is going to be
use it the whole one time.
Yep. Same with the sleep and the poison. Those are useful for this next boss fight, and that's pretty much it.
Poison comes back. Got to.
Oh, you're right. Poison does come back. Forgot, because it's still very... We would not need it for that. Like,
yeah, but we use it.
We do use it. You're not wrong. But we absolutely could use something else. I'm going to focus. You go ahead and talk.
Yeah, so this is one of the most technical or scripted boss fights out of all 3 characters. JHobz has all of his commands in a specific order. He's going to be using them in this exact order, weaving some attacks in and out of it.
Honestly, I'm just going to take a death. I'm just going to die and start over because it will probably be faster, and this is a very cool strat. So
yeah, it's absolutely better to just take the death.
Yeah.
And I was just, the sleep was just a little too late, so it didn't come out in time.
Yeah, that or like maybe my cartwheel angle was slightly off or something. It was like very weird. But that's okay. Now we get a real attempt at it.
But yeah, so JHobz will be putting the boss to sleep, using some blizzards, then weaving in poison to do some dot damage, because bosses can only be affected by 1 status effect at a time. So you can't like combine sleep and poison at once. Doing in some more hits, keeping the boss staggered until sleep comes back off cooldown, putting him to sleep again, doing some more hits, getting poison in, and then the sliding dash should knock it down, or the Spellweaver will, and then the Spellweaver will finish it off.
I don't know. Yeah.
Ideally, you'd finish it off. But this is what shot locks are.
Yeah. So it should have finished it off, but because the slide and dash did knock the boss down, Spellweaver knocked it down at a weird angle. So just 1 too many Spellweaver hits missed. You don't need every single hit to land, but literally 1 too many missed. But thankfully, the boss gave a pattern that I could shot lock on. So
yeah,
you still get the idea.
Most bosses have like those scripts to them, but there's still some randomness involved in what the boss does. This is one of the only bosses that we can just keep locked down for the entire fight from start to finish if it works.
Yeah, and honestly, like part of probably why the Spellweaver like whiffed a bit is that you're supposed to jump before using the slide dash. You don't like some people don't jump, so it theoretically shouldn't matter, but I normally jump, and so with the positioning I tend to have, it probably matters that I jump, and I forgot to here, so.
I'm a jump believer.
Yeah, that's...
The shot would never work for me until I was told to jump, and then it worked.
So we're done with Fission Faraga, we're selling it. We're also going to sell our level 3 Blizzard, and the Sleep, we're done with that too. We're going to sell our high potions. I think we don't need the ether either, but I'm just going to leave it. Just for a little bit of extra money, and then we need to buy 4 magnets, 3 thunders, and we're going to equip them immediately.
Specifically sold the level 3 Blizzard because as commands level up, they're also worth more for the shop.
Yep.
and we need that extra money that level 3 sells for compared to level 1.
And now we're going to do another one of those kind of like weird sequence breaks or skips. This is definitely a sequence break. I think I can recover this? No. Okay. I should have waited, but I was worried about the goons behind me. So this is the same kind of concept as the Cinderella Enchanted Step thing. We go into Terra's D-Link for the sliding dash after we get to the top. There we go. I just didn't fall enough the first time, I think. And then we make our way up here and we slide and dash. I saw a goon come closer, so I'm going to jump rather than roll off. And there we go.
Yeah, so goons are very dangerous in Aqua Crit. If you're going to die somewhere, this is definitely like top 3 places against any of the goon fights.
Yeah, final bosses for all of the characters and goons for especially Aqua, but honestly all of the characters are definitely the easiest places to die and where I fully expect to in these runs.
Yeah, goons, Aqua's space minigame, and final boss are like the top 3 places to game over.
Yeah, the other problem is we only have a level 1 magnet right now, which means we can't pull the enemies in from very far away. So there, I'm pretty sure I got hit by a melee attack with a magnet directly above me, which like should not be possible because the enemies should get pulled into the magnet. But that's just how it goes. So I'm going to hope that Philip takes out that last one. He probably won't because he's a jerk, but... The other thing is I was using too many thunders before. At this point, we kind of just want to stick to magnets mostly. You know what? I'm not even chancing it. I know it was like 1 goon left, but I didn't want him to kill me, so we're going to Spellweaver. It has a slightly like longer startup, but I knew that this fight would not wait for the Spellweaver to end in order to finish, so I'm able to just use it there.
Yeah, this is where routing around, making sure that we get the right command style starts to come into play because of the fact that our only other command style is Thunderbolt, and our 2 commands are Magnet and Thunder. If we fill up too much command gauge with Thunder, we won't get Spellweaver, and we want to make sure to avoid that.
Okay, this is the even scarier of the goons fights because of how long this intro cutscene is and how long this fight is in general. So if I die, I'm going to have to repeat a lot of stuff. Like I said, it's pretty common to die here. I'm not going to be that shocked if I do die, but I'm going to try really hard not to.
We also mentioned JHobz wanted Philip to take out a goon in that previous fight. While it's nice if he does that for us sometimes, we don't want him to kill too many of the enemies.
That goon just backed up.
Yeah, I mentioned it back in, I think, Terror's Revenge. If a party member kills an enemy, you don't get the experience or the command points for it. So if Philip kills too many of the goons in this fight, we actually have to kill an extra group of enemies afterwards in order for our commands to level up as much as we want them to.
Yeah, the fact that I've now taken 2 deaths, while honestly on the shorter side for these like sections, the shorter potential deaths, it still means that like I don't lose that experience if I use the retry option, so I'll probably be okay on experience.
But that does pop up again later with a fight in Radiant Garden when we have Mickey as a party member. That's another one where if Mickey kills too many of the enemies, it messes up our menus because one of our commands doesn't level up enough.
And now we do a cool little, very small like time save there. Just rather than climbing up by ledge grabbing and stuff, we slide dash to that goon that's up on the higher ledge, grab the chest, and use the wheel in order to take everything out. Or to open the gate, rather, sorry. Oh, how did you... I'm a little scared here. Did he take all those out? That might be bad.
I think he did, but... should be fine. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, we're good.
Level up to
yep. And we got into Spellweaver, which is what I cared about, so... Alright, the second room went well. The first room did not, but that is okay. So we're going to grab this chest. It's technically optional, but it would then... I'd be relying on a drop. fun fact, you can rotate the wheels with a magnet.
And as you saw with Terra and Vin, we don't want to rely on drops.
Yes. So that pulsing crystal doesn't take that long to get. So yeah, this is the room where I would kill the last wave of enemies here if I needed to for the CP, for the command points experience.
And
but
to repair your D-Link.
Oh, I've never actually had that be an issue. I didn't think about that.
Yep.
Gonna use a slide and dash for movement up here, try to hit these enemies with it. I whiffed, and now we are going to use a D-Link. We need to get a single fleeting drop. We did. We ideally would like a second one, but I'm not going to spawn these enemies multiple times. There we go. And we have all of the drops we need for Aqua's entire run, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that sounds right, since you don't go for the pulsing drop.
Yeah. So now we are going to make some Magneras. Excuse me.
Actually, do you mode Leaf Bracer in Secret Episode or no?
Yes.
Okay, so then technically you want a second pulsing crystal drop.
That
those
was
are so common in the Secret Episode, it's fine.
Okay, that might be why then, yeah. Alright, so we have made some Magneras. We made a Thundara. I put these in the wrong order. There we go. And then we need to put on Blizzard and put on High Jump. Okay. So this fight is really tricky. I'm going to let Adam cover it while I try to fire off a whole bunch of commands as fast as I can, but not too fast.
Yeah, so the biggest thing we're abusing in this fight is Dragon Maleficent doesn't know how to look behind her. So if you just go stand behind her hind leg, she can't hit you. If you get too close to her, some of her AoE attacks can still connect, so JHobz needs to make sure he maintains the right distance. From this point, he's using these commands in a very specific order, so while he fills up the command gauge to get Spellweaver, as well as letting the commands recharge in the order that he wants them in.
So I guess what I forgot
want
to do.
Get two,
forgot to hit left.
two Spellweaver. Yeah. We want to get 2 full Spellweaver finishes off before she phase transitions to get the quick kill. If that doesn't happen, she's going to fly up into the air, and then we have to let her go around and do a reaction command with Philip.
I might have gotten lucky. I did. Okay. Whew. I did it well enough that even though I made a very small mistake, it is a crucial error that I can't believe I just got that. It's not common that I get the quick kill, and Adam was helping me while I was doing some practice earlier today, and we did identify a thing that was causing me to make that fight less consistent. But then I forgot to do the thing anyways, which is to just move my command menu before using Spellweaver, and yet I got it just fast enough that we were able to get the quick kill. Heck yeah.
Yeah, it's something that I've had to point out to a not insignificant number of people that have learned to speedrun this game. Pressing left on the D-pad takes you back to the top command in your command deck.
Yeah, which I was aware of, but specifically there's a lot of times where the game will kind of lock you from moving the command menu. It's just dependent on when you're coming out of Spellweaver, basically there's a period of time where you cannot do it. I got an extra fleeting, so I don't need this chest up here. That's a nice time save. Oh, this is okay. I might get hit. Yep. Hey, can you all get grabbed by this, please? Thank you. All right.
Mandrakes and Darkpaws like to ignore magnet.
Yeah, I was just slightly too far away. You got to be right up on them. So I needed to kill a few things there just to get some commands leveled up. And now we're heading into a fight that isn't kind of like those Ventus fights I was talking about, where you just need to use magnets in very specific spots. So we're going to try to do this here. I think that was nice. Good.
Yeah, you got him.
Nice. Okay.
Oh, you got an Unbounding Crystal if you want to make EXP walk on.
All right, so this fight should end. That was a great fight. Awesome.
Yep.
This Aqua run, is going pretty well outside of the goons' deaths. Whew, I'm still kind of riding the high of that Dragon Maleficent quick kill, because when she flies away, you lose 20 seconds easily and are at risk of dying from just something that is completely not your fault. is just kind of bad. The game does a really like dumb thing where even if you block a move, you might just die. So now we're going to put on a few of the commands, like new commands that we got to level them up and to help us out with the next fight, which is the Trinity armor fight. So you've seen this one twice now. Aqua's strategy is like often a little safer or a little more consistent than Ventus's, but because it's on critical level 1, it's still significantly tougher than, say, Terra's, where at least you're not expecting to die on Terra's. So I'm going to try to fill up my entire command gauge by just using this Ice Barrage, a well-placed Ice Barrage to hit a whole bunch of parts of the boss. And that gets me into Spellweaver, and then I'm going to use some Thunders and a Mind Square to hopefully get the finisher ready. I did not, so I'm going to have to block. And then I don't remember if I'm supposed to just use this right away or wait for the block. I think we just use it right away. So we are missing a lot of damage right now. There we go. Okay. So we're going to use another Spellweaver here in order to take out the legs. I could die coming out of this if I'm unlucky. Thankfully, we did not.
JHobz also wasn't trying to damage it during that attack because it can't take damage when it's shooting the white lasers.
I had to be very careful not to accidentally start my combo here with Thunders, or I would have gotten into the wrong command style like Adam was talking about before. And now Spellweaver should finish this boss off. And we had like solid Trinity armor fights for all 3 characters. That is not common in an All Stories run.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
really
definitely
happy with that.
one of the harder bosses to have to deal with on the higher difficulties.
Yeah, and it's like hard in all 3 for different reasons in all 3 characters. So, like even on Terra on beginner, I'd say it's fairly difficult, but just for a complete, like not for the reason of being super concerned about dying. So now I'm going to get a chest that I'm only getting because we're doing All Stories. So far, the first 2 characters, everything was the same as if we had been doing an individual character run. But now I'm getting that Thundara chest for the final or secret episode that we're going to be doing later. And we are also going to get another chest in this next room. We would normally jump off and use Mickey's D-Link to pull us down like we did in Ventus's run. But instead, we are going to use Mickey to get over here. So that way we can come grab this chest. And this chest has Counterblast in it, which we're going to be using for the same kind of reason that we used it in the Ventus run for building up Peter Pan. And now we get I was supposed to grab the answer report. I keep making that mistake because you don't go into Merlin's house. I'll just land back in and get it for completeness sake.
Are you not using save data?
I'm going to use the save data I made from this though. It probably is fine, but
like as long as you have the
nervous.
people on an Aqua save that has beat the game, it shouldn't matter.
Okay.
It's like I don't pick that up in my War Stories.
We won't bother with it then. So I kind of messed up my rotation here, but it's not a big deal. Never mind, it's a gigantic deal. It's a huge problem.
Ice Barrage's damage animation carried over into Spellweaver.
Oh, it did?
So
I didn't know that could happen. Oh, okay. Because I knew not to do it in Spellweaver. That's okay.
Yeah, so that can happen in Olympus Coliseum as well if you miss space against the first wave. Ice Barrage's animation will last through the Spellweaver transformation, so it still does a tick of damage after the transformation and fills up the gauge a bit with blizzard damage.
So this fight is still going to go just fine in terms of it's going to end. But ideally I wanted to build up to Spellweaver and use the Spellweaver finisher to finish the fight a lot faster. So that goes to show how easy it is to accidentally end up in the wrong command style, and there's no way for me to go back. There's also no way to disable tier 2 command styles. So
I'm a little disappointed you didn't use the Blade Charge finisher.
I knew that if he did not die from it, that I was going to end up dying.
He was low.
And I just wasn't confident that I wouldn't whiff the entire thing. I don't know what Blade Charge's finisher looks like, so I didn't want to whiff it.
She spins the sword around her head above her, so...
Oh, well then, yeah, that would have worked.
Use that in beginner, doing that same strat.
Gotcha. But yeah, hopefully you noticed that Vanitas in that last fight got grabbed by a magnet and then never did anything ever again. Similar to what we did to him with Ventus, but with Ventus we used Sleep instead. That is something that we're going to... That is just like... It kind of really just works in that instance of the fight. He doesn't always let you get him in the magnet at the very beginning. He can just kind of dodge out of it like he can with the sleeps in Ventus. But he generally will just be helpful there. Wait, she goes to the right, doesn't she?
It's also nicer on Aqua because we have the magic haste, so the magnetos come off cooldown much quicker, so there's not as much of an issue of making sure you chain them together correctly. And we're not having to rely on a party member for damage. We can do our own damage in it.
Yeah. And I was going to do close to a full bar of health with the Spellweaver finisher, so that gives you a good idea of like how much damage we're expecting to do with that. And now we get into the worst, like one of the worst parts of Aqua's run. This is kind of a mini game. It is our space mini game for Aqua, and legitimately is one of the easiest places to die in this run. So I'm going to stand over here where I'm not quite up against the wall, but also not near the center, and try to focus really hard on which enemies are trying to attack me. I'm hoping the enemies will not push me around too much like that. So I have to be a little careful and pick up some health now. Please stop. So that's part of why this sucks, is that it is very easy to get bumped around here, and it's kind of hard to control small movements in this fight. The other thing is that for this fight to go quickly, we kind of need enemies to attack us, to like try to attack us, but we don't want multiple to do it at the same time, really, because we can only really hit one enemy at a time, or focus on one enemy at least.
Yeah, this fight typically, when it goes wrong, because you get bumped around, you have to try to dodge out of the way. It usually involves getting hit by one of those spinner things on the side of the arena that's flying across it.
Honestly, it went pretty well, even with having to use the spinner things. And I didn't die, which is the biggest thing that you're looking for out of that fight.
Yeah, because like you want the enemies to be somewhat aggressive to where they're coming up to you so you can shoot them, but at the same time not killing you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say goodnight. I got work to go to, so thank you.
All right, thanks for hanging out, Troy, and we'll look forward to the next host.
Yeah, I think Fiesel's just gonna keep you company for a bit.
Sweet. So yeah, these jellies, we kind of alluded to the fact that they can very easily kill you in the higher difficulties. That shows you how. I don't have any method of protection against getting one shot in at this point in the run. Wait, I have Spellweaver. What am I doing? Did I mention it's hard to talk about this game while you're playing it, or any Kingdom Hearts game?
Yeah, something I also wanted to mention at some point. For people that are familiar with Aqua casually, you may remember, if you just cartwheel on Aqua, you can't take damage. That's only true when our cartwheel is max level. And for the No More speedrun for Aqua's story, we will not get cartwheel to level 4. It will be at level 3. And so you will still easily take damage during the cartwheel. Maybe not easily, but there were definitely some attacks that will hit you through it.
So, unfortunately, one of these enemies didn't teleport, which I really wanted it to earlier. There we go. Oh, wow. What? Did Stitch knock him?
Stitch shot it.
Yeah.
It took all 3 shots from Stitch immediately and caused it to blow up.
Okay.
Thankfully, your CP doesn't really matter at this point.
I think we're
not that
okay.
big of a deal.
Yeah. I have had it be a little low after OC before, so that I'll have to keep an eye on that, but... so we are going... What am I doing? The save point is in this room. There it is. We are going to use the world map to warp back to the Turo transporter here. In order to go into the same room that we were just in. but not because we want to kill any enemies, but because there are those special enemies back here that give us ice cream ingredients again. This time, rather than completely building up Spellweaver, we're just going to use 2 rounds of Magnera and Thundara, and that will allow us to collect enough ice cream ingredients. We're now going to leave this world and come back later. Aqua's the only character we do this with. She splits up the Deep Space world into 2 visits, and also the Olympus Coliseum world into 2 visits, and it'll become very apparent why in a little bit. And now we're getting kind of our core combo here that we've been seeing over the last 2 runs. Well, okay, never mind. I messed up. I wish I could fall out of Thunderbolt here, but I'm probably not going to be able to, so I'm just going to embrace it, and we're going to use the Thunderbolt finisher.
Never mind, it's still true.
Yeah, that is true, yeah. So we're using the Magnet Thunder combo. That was where I was trying to go with that, and then I just realized there was more I needed to say because I went to the wrong command. So Magnet Thunders are going to do really good damage, while also ideally building up our Spellweaver finisher. And we can use it to finish off the last 2 waves pretty much instantly. Everything just leveled up there, so we're good on CP. I don't need to stress. Yeah. So this is another thing we're getting for all stories. We wouldn't get that chest otherwise, unless we were like super low on money.
So you do ice cream ingredients after the 10 rounds then?
Nope.
Well, you are now.
Yeah. Thanks for...
It works either way. You
Okay,
get
good.
teleported to the same spot, so it doesn't make a difference.
Thank you for the reminder. I was supposed to use Ice Barrage here. That's fine. That's totally fine. We'll just you do the rest the same. Because I shouldn't go into Thunderbolt still. Yeah, okay, good. Alright. Magnera Ice Brush would have finished off that first wave really fast. That's the only reason I didn't. So it's very easy once something goes off script to get nervous and like start forgetting things. So I forgot to get some ice cream ingredients, which is not a big deal because like Adam said, we can just get it after this fight.
It also doesn't help that all stories is just easy to get stuff confused between the 3 characters since they're going to the same places on all 3.
Yeah. I do that all the time. Like Ventus, you come here and you just don't care about ice cream. I didn't mean to use 2 Magneras, but it's fine. You don't care about ice cream at all, so you just always go forward. And same with Terra. But Aqua, you care about ice cream, so.
I love Terra and Aqua because one of them has a cutscene before the 10 rounds and not after. The other has a cutscene after the 10 rounds, but not before.
Oh, that's why I always get mixed up in like early pause. That makes sense. So you might notice I built up the Spellweaver finisher and I haven't like bothered to use it at all. That's because in these fights, it would wait all the way for your finisher to end before like actually continuing on to the next round. And I wanted to hold it for this. It's technically faster to use magnets here, but you saw how quickly the jellies killed me in Deep Space, and there's a whole bunch of them there. So we use Spellweaver because we're invulnerable during it. I'm gonna, turn around. Yep, I remembered it, but I was like thinking I was gonna spawn inside for some reason, even though you said I was.
I saw you start to move forward.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I'm gonna do what I was trying to like think about was that I'm gonna do the menu that I would normally do after I did the ice cream. So more ice cream ingredients, and now, we are gonna go do a menu that is a little different from all stories. Or in all stories. So I'm going to sell Ice Barrage. We are now done with it. We're also going to sell 2 Thundaras. Oh, right. That's the one we have. I got scared when I saw level 1 Thundara. I was not supposed to sell those in all stories. That's okay. We'll figure it out.
You can buy them back.
Yeah. I should. Hopefully I'll have enough extra money. I need to sell this Mind Square. I need to sell, quote, extra commands. I don't know which ones are extra. Thank you, me, for those notes.
That's also a me playing the game after not touching it for a year situation with my notes.
Yeah. Sell level. Okay, that's fine. We have more than enough money. I'm gonna be fine. All right. Yeah, even with buying
Yeah,
back.
more than enough because of the extra thunders you saw.
Oh, true. Yeah. So I need to buy. I don't even think I need to buy a cure because I think I have one. You know what? I'm not going to chance it. I am going to buy the thunders first, though. The thundars first.
You don't have a cure. It showed 0 in the sock.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so I am actually. I have just enough money. All right, we're good. We're good. Yeah. Sorry that this menu is taking time, but that's because I got frazzled and messed up. There we go. So now we need to buy 3 of these and a barrier. Oops, I'm on attacks. Yeah, I was not supposed to go over to magic. Barrier, and we need to buy a bind, apparently. And a sliding dash. Unless we get a fire dash drop, which I don't know if I got one or not. And a fire. Okay, yeah, we have enough money. Whew. I got real spooked there. That menu, I will be honest, I have just kind of merged the single story and all stories like menu there in my notes, and I should just split them out. I should just make them different because that's why I mess that up sometimes. So now that we got all those ingredients, actually go ahead because I'm gonna do another menu.
I was gonna say in my notes, I just have the menu that's the same between the two, and then underneath it, the additional stuff for our stories.
Yeah, that's kind of what I did, and it was bad. Like it's, okay. So we're going to use Barrier, Asuna, and a Pulsing Crystal to get second chance on Renewal Barrier, which is also a useful command, and we're going to get a Magnega with once more. So same as Ven, we want to keep ourselves safe. I have to re-equip everything. We need to put on a couple Ignites, the Magnega, and the Sliding Dash. It doesn't matter which one. And then we need to equip Renewal Barrier. Renewal Barrier is a block that will refill your health as you block things, which is very, very handy.
The amount it refills is also based on how much damage you would have taken. So on critical mode, it's just a full heal every time you block an attack.
Exactly. And because we now have second chance and once more, that basically means that if we block, we can now take another, like, it'll be 2 hits before we die again. Oops, pressed the wrong button there. So this is Fruit Ball. This is Aqua's Disney Town minigame. It is quite long, but at least at this point in the run, it is handy to like kind of have a break. But I do need to build up enough points to make sure I win first, which is generally around like 11 or so, but I'll often go to like 15 or 18 to be safe.
Yeah, I usually go at least 15. I've seen them get double digits before. I don't like to chance it.
Yeah.
If you ever played this game casually and you've had issues with this minigame, just hit triangle more. It's usually people with issues.
Triangle to knock it up, and then using X to launch a like fast attack is generally what I do the entire time. It seems to be the best way to handle this. With that, this is about to be like the longest break in the run. So, Feasel, if there's anything you'd like to read off, feel free. Or chat if you have any questions about Kingdom Hearts speedrunning or the run in general. Feel free to ask them. Sounds like Feasel might not be here, so I'm going to set this down and take a sip of water because this is the only time to really like rest my hands in this run.
I actually need to refill my drink, so I'm going to go do that.
There we go. Completely refilled, or completely drained my drink, which is good. It means I'm drinking enough water. Drink some water if you haven't yet in this run, folks.
Hey, I'm here. Sorry, I was just on a delay.
All good. Yeah, we still got a little under a minute on this. If you got anything else you want to read out about the marathon.
No new donations, but I will tell you that you're watching the SpeedGaming Spring Marathon benefiting No Kid Hungry, a charity dedicated to the mission of ending childhood hunger. You can get the donation link by typing !NKH in the chat or going to speedgaming.org/NoKidHungry. Thank you so much for helping us support a great cause.
Yeah, please get those donations in, folks, if you're able. Every little bit helps. and being able to help No Kid Hungry with their mission of trying to end childhood hunger would be super, like, it's just such a super worthy cause that I think everybody can get behind. So please, if you're able, use the donate link in the chat and make that happen. Oh, they got a couple extra points there at the end. It got scary.
I told you, I've seen them hit double digits sometimes. They got close to you.
Yeah, they got 15. Like, I was getting a little nervous once they got to around 12. I'm like, oh, there's not enough time. And then they scored 2 right at the very end.
I mean, grapes exist. Those are 5 points if they split them apart sometimes. So you gotta be careful.
I believe control room, right? Yes. Okay.
Did we explain how the ice cream works yet?
No. Now would be a fantastic time to do that, because I'm just going to be moving up to the next boss.
Yeah, so if you know, up until now, the way that we've gone to the Spellweaver finisher, we use a bunch of commands to get into Spellweaver, and then a bunch of more commands to fill the gauge again to get to the finisher. Ice Cream does that immediately for us. It will just fill the command gauge for the specific command style that the Ice Cream is associated with, Fabricadabra being Spellweaver. So we use it once, it takes us into Spellweaver, we use it again, we have the finisher ready. So rather than going through a bunch of magnets, thunders, anything else, we just use 2 items and we have the finisher. Gantu won't be defeated by just 2 finishers alone. He's immune to magnet, but he is vulnerable to poison, so we throw out a poison to do some dot damage while using Spellweavers to just build that up. If Stitch attacks him a couple times, then the second Spellweaver kills. Stitch didn't do that, so we had to hit him one more time.
I even used the second poison, and you're not supposed to need to, but I saw that Stitch had like done no damage basically. Yeah. So
he did a bunch of hits when Gantu hit 1 health, so it didn't help at all.
Yeah. But yeah,
this is why we
you were going to say the same thing I was going to do.
Yeah. This is why we split up Deep Space and OC into 2 visits. Just so happened the Deep Space and OC have the enemies that we need for the ice cream ingredients for Spellweaver, so we go and get those, do Disney Castle, then come back and abuse those on the bosses rather than fighting the bosses without them.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to use Ignite here, and then Fabricadabra, roll back, use another one, and Spellweaver, and that's going to deal pretty much exactly half of Zach's health. We're going to do the exact same thing. Getting hit there is fine, like that happens a lot of the time.
This is why we have second chance and once more.
Yeah. And now this should kill him. There we go. So unlike with Gantu there, like where I said I use 2 poisons, but I would like not to, you actually have to use both ignites for Zach, because you otherwise won't have enough damage. I am gonna not be stupid. And
the damage over time abilities like Ignite and Poison are really nice because the Spellweaver taking so long, it just does additional damage during those attacks.
I'll let you talk about this one because this one can be a little tricky.
Yeah, so the beginning of this fight, Hades is going to move 1 in 4 directions. We hope it's the correct one. It's not, so we're going to hit him to try to get him to go into the right direction. It's better, but still not the ideal one. We want him to stay over here next to the Ice Colossus so that the Spellweaver finisher will hit both the Colossus and Hades at the same time, because we do need to defeat both of them for this boss fight. If we're really unlucky, Hades will just move off to the other side of the arena and we can only hit 1 of the 2. So this is still good that we can hit both of them at once.
I don't think I didn't kill the Ice Colossus though, because he was just slightly too far away. Hades has more health, so it's more important to prioritize Hades if you can only hit 1 of the 2. But as a result, like the Ice Titan would normally be dead there by the end of that second Spellweaver, and sadly,
Hades moved to the correct spot. Like, this is the best place because it's close. It's near his closer leg and easy to juggle both of them at once. Ice Colossus can also deal damage to Hades with its Ice Breath, so it can be useful if we see him use that attack as well.
And now Hades is moving away, though, sadly. I'm going to try to kind of push him back, but it's not going to happen. So we might die coming out of this again. Yeah.
Yeah, that ranged attack from the Colossus is extremely dangerous.
Yeah. The first one I'll say that, like, I probably could have positioned myself a bit better and avoided death. That second one, I don't think there was a whole lot I could have done there. That was just
Yeah,
just the
personally,
way the
if
cookie
they
crumbles
split
sometimes.
apart like that, I would just focus out the Colossus. Just to avoid dealing with that attack.
Okay, so I actually have more than 1 HP right now. Where did Hades even go? Okay, yeah, he's way over there.
Yeah, no, he went off to the other side.
Yeah, okay. We're just gonna take you out, and this is just gonna be a slow fight. But I don't want to die again. So
Yeah, something JHobz needs to be careful of is that when you do retry, it doesn't refresh the items that you used in the fight attempt. So the Fabricadabras that we used in the previous attempts were all used up still. We want to make sure we don't run out by the end of the run.
yeah, unfortunately, I think I'm not gonna be able to get into another Spellweaver, but he's gonna do this anyways. All right, we'll just Shotlock, I guess.
Yeah.
So Hades is actually invulnerable right now. It was also not gonna let me do it again. I needed a max, apparently.
Can't underestimate how little damage Shotlocks do on level 1.
Yeah, I've almost never had to use Aqua's Shotlock. That fight went so abysmally that I just had to do something. I was considering poisoning him and then trying to get an attack, but at 1 HP, I just didn't feel like being anywhere near him.
I don't even know if Hades is vulnerable to poison.
He probably is. I think. I don't know.
I gotta look it up now.
Yeah.
KH Wiki wouldn't lie to me.
That would never happen. I just realized, I hope it doesn't matter that the Thundaras I had to buy are now level 1. It shouldn't.
No.
They'll level up in time.
Yeah, it would just be slightly less damage, but
Well, because I want to say we do meld too, but I think it's after.
you get a lot of CP in secret
Yeah.
episode. That won't be an issue.
Yeah, it
Also,
should be
if the
fine.
wiki's not lying to me, the only status effect he's vulnerable to is freeze. which
Oh,
is
okay.
nice.
So still using slide dash for movement occasionally. There is another Thundaga I can get in coming up in the next room, but because I bought the 2 Thundaras back, we should be good. That's what my notes say to use if I had to sell a Thundara, but I just didn't feel like messing with it. Oh, oops. I was still targeted onto that enemy when I tried to do that slide dash, so that was a mistake.
Also, I just saw Green Z Sabers crushing about 100%. 100% spends a lot of time in every area of the game, as somebody who has ran that more times than I should have.
Yeah. Alright. Ideally, you can get like a whole bunch of fast bounces there, but I'm not very good at it, so I tend to just focus on getting, like landing in the correct spots instead.
So, Vanitas had some character growth since the last time we fought him. He is no longer invulnerable to Magnet, but he is still vulnerable to a couple other status effects, such as Ignite.
Yeah, so this is a boss fight where, you know, if we could, like with a lot of the other ones, we would just use Spellweaver to deal a bunch of damage, right? But Vanitas will actually just kind of jump away or dodge around and not take a lot of damage from
Which is
it.
the big reason why we use Magnet in the first fight, just to
Yeah.
make sure he can't get away from us.
So we get Spellweaver ready, and then I didn't think I was far enough away from that. Okay. Oh, come on. So I'm going to do a whole lot of counting here. Why, Adam? That was 1.
Yeah, so we want Vanitas to use the attack that we used, that we saw him use against Ben, where he dives underground. He won't do that until
4.
you've hit him 10 times. And that, like,
5.
the damage ticks from Ignite don't count from that, so you have to actually land 10 different hits. Every time you see Vanitas Cartwheel out of an attack, it doesn't count. But once we land that 10th hit,
6.
he will use his attack where he dives underground. Similar to us abusing that with Peter Pan
7.
dealing on Ben, we can then use Spellweaver while he's underground and having him chase us
8.
around to get the 4 damage from Spellweaver onto him.
Nope.
Normally, Vanitas would jump down and up out of the ground, and it would
9.
be random if he does it between 1 to 3 times. So what we'll do is that once he's underground, we'll just move away from him to keep him under. Or JHobz will
Or
wrong.
he just didn't. Okay. Okay.
Or do you not
panicked.
move away from him?
I was trying to, but you don't want to when he's in the jumping part, because
Yeah, you can. It doesn't matter.
you can, but you miss the damage. So I guess
Yeah.
probably doesn't.
He
Yeah.
was at like half ball.
Okay. I was just trying to get the damage in.
But yeah, the reason we don't want to rely on him just jumping up and down is because it's random whether he does it 1 to 3 times. And if he only does it once like that, then
Yeah,
you won't
3,
get enough damage from Spellweaver to actually kill him.
4. I know that's the annoying thing is if he had just done another one, I would have been fine.
Yeah.
Like I literally
And,
just
like,
needed one more.
I don't know if he has like a higher percentage chance to do
4?
one number of jumps versus the other 2, but if it is even, that is just unlucky.
5. I might be 1 over, but I think I'm at 6. And 1 over I can react to, so 7. 1 under would be bad.
You know, so we don't have any curing commands equipped.
Well, we do now,
Actually,
but
we do have.
yeah.
Okay. Well,
But
we
I
don't have
still
leaf
wouldn't use
missile,
it, yeah.
So it's extremely easy to get that interrupted in this fight. So even if we have it, it's very unlikely that we'll use it. It's safer if you know the fights to just try to use renewal barrier to get health back.
There we go.
Yeah,
That's what
so
Adam
see-
was trying to say earlier about moving away. I didn't realize that you didn't really need the damage for when he jumps up. I think maybe I've had one time where like he
It depends on how
staggered so
well
quickly.
your ignites hit.
Yeah.
Because yeah, sometimes if you're too lucky with every ignite hitting and you don't
Yeah.
space them out enough, he might jump super early, and so then you need the force Spellweaver damage.
I think that happened to me early on, and so in running Aqua, and so I just got like kind of gun shy about it.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So and technically it would be faster to like try to stay near him while he's jumping straight up and then move away, but I'm not good enough at the timing of that. So I need to get this chest for a Mega Elixir and a chest back here for Magnega. Because this is all stories, I'm going to be using those later.
And similar to Ben, now that we finished Neverland, we have Peter Pan D-Link access.
Peter Pan is going to be very, very useful.
Unfortunately, there's one boss fight we have left where we can't use it in Aqua Story because of having a party member. Just continuing the trend of party members making the game harder.
Yeah, they're not great for this game. Or even when they can be great, like Stitch, they're still usually not great.
Yeah. This next room also has some pretty precise movement with Aqua. Terra and Ven can just get through Keyblade Graveyard without caring about the tornadoes at all. Aqua actually has to abuse some tracking mechanics with them to get through the room without them hitting. A tornado in the next room, only one of them can actively be tracking Aqua at one time, and they speed up the longer they track you. So JHobz will purposely get close enough to the first tornado to have it start tracking him, and then close enough to the next two to like reset which one is tracking, so that one doesn't stay on him so long that they speed up enough to catch him.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm just like so used to that from Aqua. I actually do that on all 3 characters just for safety. But like Adam was saying, it's not nearly as big of a deal with the others.
And you have to get this close to the tornadoes to like reset the AI so the first one doesn't just keep tracking you, essentially. And if you played this game when it first came out in the Japanese version, the tornadoes moved twice as quickly because of it being in 60 FPS on the PS4.
Even
So
English,
you cannot avoid those.
the first English patch was too, because that actually happened to Frozen Flagon recently when she was learning this. Her game had not updated, and she could not get past the tornadoes, and she didn't know why. And it took Pestilist a while to like figure out what it was.
Yep.
It was really funny. Yeah, so here we go. I'm going to focus really hard on these next fights and just let Adam take it away.
Yeah, so the opening of this fight, JHobz is going to block to interrupt Brig, and now Peter Pan. We mentioned Peter Pan's gimmick for his D-Link is you need to do damage while in the air. So JHobz will be jumping and guarding, which would deflect the projectiles back at Brig, and since he jumped for the guard, it will fill up the gauge much more than if he was on the ground. Now that he has Sword Bill, He's just going to wait until Blade gets to an attack that he can't be interrupted during, which will be at the end of this next cycle of attacks. So yeah, Blade would teleport to the middle of the screen now, and Sword Bill.
Yeah, and there is a little bit of like timing to Sword Bill. It's not just like press X once or just hold X or whatever. You have to do like a press and then wait and then hold. It's not a very hard thing to do, but it is a thing that is hard to know you have to do without like somebody telling you.
Yep.
And now final
for the
videos.
final boss.
Hardest
you
boss.
Want me to explain?
Yes, the hardest boss of Aqua's run. I'd say maybe even in all stories.
Yeah, so JHobz will open up by using 2 Fabrics to get a Spellweaver prepped. Now this Mickey reaction command is on purpose. It's not going to do any damage, but it will do a bunch of hits. As you saw, Vanitas kept getting knocked away there. Ideally, it would have done more, but he was staying just outside of range, which is a little unfortunate.
Oh, no.
Now
I'm dead.
have to
Well, I did it
die
late
out of
enough
this.
that maybe I'm alive, but I'm... Oh. Okay, well, this is bad, though.
It's awkward. You might just save this Fabra so you don't run out and just heal instead.
Yeah, that's a good call. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, its hitbox is pretty wide.
Yeah, so there's a few different attacks that Vanitas uses where if I'm at 1 HP and I go into Spellweaver while he's doing that attack, I will just die coming out of it. There will be almost nothing I can do. Honestly, I'm surprised I survived the DM, but it was because I started the Spellweaver so late in it. The other tricky part about this, honestly, and again, back to party members being kind of mean, is that Vanitas can decide to either attack you or Mickey, and you kind of never really want him to attack Mickey unless you get into a rough enough spot where you need to like run away and heal. But outside of that, you really don't want him to focus on Mickey.
Yeah, we kind of like abuse Vanitas' AI to try to get him to use specific attacks, but it's almost impossible to do if he's just trying to go attack Mickey instead. Assuming he DMs after this, you should be good.
Yep, we should be good. That's not the cure. Okay, we might not be good, but I wanted to heal to play it safe.
Yeah, you have enough Fabras, you can get another Elf, so it's not a big deal. Yeah, ideally you finish this fight in 3 Fabras, but it doesn't always happen.
I thought that I was gonna get like once more bugged, basically, because not bugged, but you know, because of the command style there.
Now we're just waiting for Vanitas to jump again, and you can win the game.
Now he'll die. Sweet. Okay. So we have 2 more episodes to go. Final episode and secret episode. Neither of which is like terribly long, but they're also not terribly easy. And we do need to actually save Aqua's run here. Sub 1 in-game time for Aqua. That's nice.
Almost sub 59.
Yeah. 1 fewer death. Alright, so we need to save, and we also need to create some save data for the final episode.
Yeah, so the final episode is just going to be like 5 cutscene skips and 2 bosses. Both bosses will be abusing the Peter Pan D-Link. We'll also be using the counter barrier ability that JHobz picked up back in Radiant Garden.
Alrighty. So yeah, we go to Radiant Garden and pretty much just immediately get into the first fight. We're not going to do any menu before final. We are going to menu in a few times in the secret episode, but final episode is just do those boss fights.
And similar to how we're filling up the Sword Bill command gauge on Blade by jumping and guarding, it'll be the same thing on Terranor for jump, guard, counter barrier, so that we do damage while in the air to fill up the command gauge. Because Peter Pan's D-Link just won't fill. It'll fill up, but by a very insignificant amount if you just attack while on the ground.
Okay, that's fine. So that is the move you want him to use when you're ready for it. And he always insists on doing it after a dash like that when I'm not ready for it. Yeah, I was trying to see, like, I probably should have just, like, can you double flight out of that? Maybe I should try to double flight. Once he dashed, I was trying to, like, barrier at the top of its hitbox, but it's a bit hard to tell where that is. That's okay.
Yes, this game has faster load times on PS5 than PS4.
He keeps using the Dark Volley after a dash that I get hit by, or you know, counterblast, so I keep having a hard time. You absolutely want to parry the Dark Volley if you can, though, because in the air, because it'll deal a lot of hits for building up Peter Pan, but also it'll actually deal a decent amount of damage to him.
And then once we have the Swordbill finisher ready, we'll be looking for specific attacks from Terranor in order to use Swordbill on, similar to Vanitas. We want it to be an attack where he won't just get knocked up and teleport away from us, which is this, or Solo.
Okay, cool. Honestly, 2 very fast deaths into, was that maybe even 3? I think it was 2. Into a pretty good fight. Like, I will take that for final episode, or for the first fight, which I think is the harder part. The second part is not free by any means, but that first one I have a lot harder time, like, recognizing his patterns.
Yeah, so this fight will open up, you're using Mega Elixir to get your D-Link back, and then same thing, go into Peter Pan. If Hobbs knew my strat, he could end the fight right now, but he doesn't.
Oh, well.
It's just jump attack, no guard.
No, I know. I was just trying to see if I could do that. I know.
No.
Or, well, I didn't know, but I knew that I didn't know.
He really wants. He's really punishing you for not learning that strat now.
Yeah. I'm not chancing it at 1 HP. Oh.
But yeah, it's the same idea. We're just going to use jump counter blasts in order to fill up Peter Pan D-Link, and then wait for him to use an attack that we can use.
It's funny, we want him to use the DM, but not at the start here. We want him to use it once we're ready with Swordbill. Until that point, we just want him to use pretty much any other attack.
Yeah, any physical move. Like that.
Yeah. There we go. That's the one that I like to see the most, because this is the easiest one to react to. I was trying to get a second one there, but... Do it again. Do it again. Thank you.
Hey,
okay. So that's final episode.
So that's a lot of damage from Peter Pan.
For what it's worth, I just saved like 6 minutes over my PB on final episode. That's like I was saying, those fights are pretty hard. Alrighty. Gotta save again. Now I could save over final episode, I think, right? But
yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay, just to be safe, I made a new one, but... And now we are going to... Oh, right. I don't think I needed to save both. I don't know, whatever.
You do. Otherwise, it would use your previous final episode save data.
Gotcha.
So yeah, always gotta save the previous and then save the new.
Yeah, the way they did clear data in this game is a little weird. And now we're going to load into our final episode, which is not the final episode. It's secret episode.
The secret episode didn't exist in the version of the game that had the final episode.
It's basically like when you're making any kind of creative document in Photoshop or Premiere or whatever. You got to have your final and then your final for real.mp4 or whatever. Final V2. So we're going to start off with a menu immediately. We're going to put on Magnega, and then it says I should have a Thundaga, but I think that's just because if I wanted to get that one chest. Oops.
Yeah, the Neverland chest.
Yeah. And then we put another Magnega, and then Thundara. Oh, I think I should have gotten that, because it's expecting me to have another one, but that's fine. We'll just do this. Or, no, this is supposed to be a regular fire. Put a fire here, because why not? And bind. Okay. That should be fine. It's going to be a little annoying that I don't have more thunders, but I should have just gotten that chest rather than believing my notes when I said it was optional. So the idea here is we're just going to use Magnet Thunder a whole lot. You're going to see me go into a command style called Ghost Drive. We don't like Ghost Drive. It looks pretty cool.
It's my favorite, but it's so useless.
Yeah.
It's so disappointing.
It looks very cool when we like start dashing around and stuff, but it makes our dash slower, pretty much. Or like you don't go as... It's just not good. Yeah, so basically our cartwheels are just not quite as good now while we're in Ghost Drive, so we actually want it to disappear.
Yeah, this the whole secret episode is just navigating the Realm of Darkness, doing some mob fights in order to spawn the platforms to move on to the next area.
I don't remember this first one. I can just skip, right? Or do I need it?
Yep, you can skip this.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And then at that lower area, you just have to do one of the two.
Gotcha. Oh, hello. I've never rolled off that far to the right before.
Yeah, so it's just knowing which protos are actually necessary to do in order to move on. It's like this one will be necessary, then the next one we go to will have two protos, one on the left and one on the right, and we only have to do one of them.
So a lot of this is just kind of spacing out your commands so that you can keep everything trapped in magnets the entire time. Because they are Magnegas now, we're not really that worried about enemies, you know, getting out of range or wasting too much time. They also last for a long time, so you don't even really have to stress that hard about spacing your commands out. I'm mostly doing it because I don't have a second Thundara to spawn, or a fourth Thundara, rather.
I'm going to assume we've gotten plenty of porcings right now, but I did just see one drop, so you do have the guaranteed porcing.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've probably gotten a bunch by now. So I do want to do a menu here, which is to meld some stuff. We are going to meld our bind and a fire, plus our pulsing. Oh, wow. That was actually the only one. That's funny. And then we're going to put on 2 sliding dashes and use those for movement.
Yeah, while the secret episode is pretty short, we actually skip about half of it with a trick coming up in the next room.
We'll see. I'm going to try.
Theoretically, we can skip half of it.
So ideally you want to do this movement, or this menu a little earlier so that your sliding dashes are off cooldown already by that point. But I didn't have the pulsing, and it definitely was intentional that I didn't do the menu because I knew I didn't have the pulsing. That wasn't dumb luck. You do have to do both of these, I believe.
The portals? You just need to do with the left.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep.
I've only
it spawns enough of the tree that you can just jump up.
Okay, I have never climbed it with just the one. I assumed you needed both to do it. You learn new things sometimes when... honestly, like, I've done this run a fair number of times at this point, and I've even watched it and commentated it, but because you get to this end part and these fights are a lot of just... you know, Magnet Thunder, and you're often talking about other things, it's easy to not notice, even when you're watching the run for the first time and taking notes.
He's also streaming when I'm usually at work, so I can't point out these obvious things.
This is also, like, the very end of a run where you start to get, like, tired.
Yeah. No, it's
easy to make mistakes.
3-hour run where you only really had that one moment of downtime with football.
Alright, so here we have to break every part of the like, we have to go to every spot where there's darkness on the ground, and take out the enemies. I hate how the camera turns you around there. These dark balls are kind of some of the only enemies that can really be annoying with your Magnegas.
Yeah, they can just choose to not get caught in it if they don't feel like it. It's a little obnoxious. I also don't know if it's the case on stream, but at least for Discord, your bitrate does not like this room.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I guess there's just all of the movement graphics or something.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. It seems to be okay on stream, so that's good.
Maybe it was my connection. I don't know.
All right, so now we're going to try to do the skip that Adam was talking about.
Yeah, so
let's
inside
see.
that orb is what we call another 1000 Horrorless fight, similar to NKH 2.
I believe
but-
this is the one.
Yeah, so by using these 2 sliding dashes with a menu in between them in order to cancel our animation to use the second one faster, we can get past the trigger for this orb.
What?
You don't delink. Delink resets your commands.
That?
Do your notes say to delink?
Yeah.
It
Maybe
says-
my notes are for earlier. I see. Okay, yeah. That's fine. We'll try it again. It's better than falling.
Yeah, it probably meant for like the actual movement area before this.
I'm gonna try again.
Yeah, I mean, you can try this like a dozen times before it's actually slower
Yeah,
than just doing fight.
You just don't usually get another attempt at it.
Yeah, it depends on, like, if you're too far left, you usually fall into it, but if you're too far right, you can do it again.
Yeah, the tricky thing is that the camera is really weird here, and doesn't like you to do precise adjustments, and there's a component of precision when it comes to where you're aiming, as well as, you know, the timing of things, and where you're starting from on your standing position, because this ground is sloped. And that is something that I had not seen a lot of people notice before.
I don't think I ever noticed it, but I always tried to just stand at the very edge, so it didn't really
I'm
matter
going-
as much for me.
I'm going slightly too far right. No, see, the very edge can sometimes make it harder. That's kind of...
Gotcha.
Yeah, some people who have had it less consistent, once I pointed that out, it got a bit better for them. Yeah, I'm erring on the right side because this is a very cool skip and I would like to show it. So I'm erring on, like, the side where if I fail it, I can try again, as opposed to getting pulled into the fight. But I do need to go a little further left. I keep going too far right.
Your notes have a link to the VOD, or to the video that shows the skip, so if you do fail it, you just pull it.
I can just pull up the VOD. That I thought was going to be good, and it was still slightly too far right, I think. So that was surprising. All right, here we go. This time for sure. Nope, because I did the... It might not matter. You might be able to do the air dash second, but I did it after
No,
the...
you can't air dash after
okay.
sliding dash. It has
Yeah,
to be
so I'm
first.
glad I turned around. All right, here we go. I keep readjusting too far to the right mid-air because I'm scared that I'm too far left. Again, like Adam said, though, this will still save time if I can get it even after all of these. I keep going around the right.
Yeah, I remember back when, like, Realm of Darkness speedruns were a category that people were doing back on, like, early PS4 or late PS4. It was like, before we knew about the skip, this run was 10-ish minutes, then we found the skip, and it was down to 4 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, it's
half of this episode is just skipping this fight.
Mm-hmm. Also, in the Realm of Darkness RTA, you do like a save corruption thing so that you don't have to.
Depending on the category.
True. You don't have to do a lot of the other fights. Whew, okay. Would not have wanted to fall. Okay. Hey! All right, I got it. Whew, okay, it took a while, but I'm very glad that we didn't have to do the fight. And then it's important to remember that there's a menu after, because if you ever forget, it sucks. You have to die.
So the whole 0 EXP making you do bonus damage or like scaling up your damage, yeah, that works everywhere except for this boss. This boss on level 1, you do chip damage, no matter what. So we have to revert back to, similar to how Ven fought Metamorphosis by spamming Ignite, that's going to be our main source of damage in this fight.
I did the thing for you.
Okay, I don't have audio.
I know, yeah.
That's my entertainment for this fight. yeah, phase 1, you see through his eyes to see which attack he's going to do. Either he claws at you and you can guard it or dodge it. Otherwise, he charges at you and with like a fire stream.
Uh-oh.
Just have to dodge it, use an ignite.
Okay, I wasn't expecting him to do a third one. I knew he was going to get low enough from that ignite.
So phase 2, dodge attacks, cast ignite.
Yeah, this fight is pretty
gonna be
easy
the
to
fight.
to mess up. But I do have second chance and once more, so I can't get one shot unless like something really weird happens. And I do. There we go. I have renewal block, so I can get healed by blocking. And I have Leaf Bracer, which means anytime I'm using a Cure spell, I have both Cure and Cura enabled in or equipped right now. Anytime I use a Cure spell, I cannot be like... I basically cannot have that spell canceled or be damaged while I'm doing it.
You also did get level 4 Cartwheel while killing enemies in the Realm of Darkness, so while we didn't have level 4 for all the previous bosses, we do have the Infinite Iframe Cartwheel for this fight.
Yeah, so if I keep rolling, I should theoretically not get hit. Like, it's... You do have to be very good with your rolling, so it is still easy to have it happen. But...
And unfortunately, because the damage scaling doesn't work in this fight, that also means Peter Pan isn't an option.
Yeah.
It would be difficult to find a time to use it on this boss since he doesn't stun and most of his attacks end up flying around the stage. But even if he did use it, it would do like half a bar of damage, which isn't worth the time it would take to set.
Yeah, and Ignite does almost that amount, and we can just keep spamming them for free. So we're into the third phase. Honestly, I would have expected... Well, I'm not going to say anything. He pretty much always opens with this attack. I think always actually opens with it. So you just have to dodge around for this. You can't damage the boss during that part. And now we're back to our Ignite thing. There are some attacks that, like, when he uses them, you're not able to ignite him. So, like, my first 2 Ignites in Phase 3 missed. But we have 4.
It's also difficult to tell when he actually dodges an Ignite or not.
Yes.
Like, sometimes he would just jump to the side as a dodge, and sometimes Ignite still hit him, sometimes it didn't. So you pretty much just have to watch his health or watch his body to know whether he's still ignited. The trick is, for me, you have enough Ignites and enough Magic Haste where if you just use an Ignite and cartwheel twice and Ignite again, like, you can always use Ignite off cooldown. So, I try not to, like, worry too much about whether it lands or not, and I just keep up the Ignite barrage. And then eventually he'll get 1 HP and we'll finish him off with a shot lock. Yeah, it is unfortunate that this boss and like a couple optional bosses, just for some reason the 0 EXP damage scaling doesn't work in those fights. And so you kind of just get stuck with Ignite spam.
This is... Yeah, so I was still rolling, but tried to go for the cure, and I must have had like a frame off on my roll. Little unfortunate, but... So going from a cartwheel into a command will sometimes just have a bit of lag between them where you're vulnerable. I've learned that the hard way from Mysterious Figure plenty of times. Yeah, that was just... I got stuck between two... Basically, I was stuck between a rock and a hard place, except they were both orbs. And just didn't handle it properly. I should have just kept cartwheeling until I knew for sure I was safe on the cure, but it's extremely easy, especially after 3.5 hours, to kind of panic and think like, well, I'm at 1 HP, I need to cure. But sometimes that'll actually just lead to you dying. Okay, that was a greedy Ignite. That I should not have done. I don't know why I did. I just kind of like spaced on the fact that it was at 1 HP. Yeah, see, none of these Ignites are landing right now. There we go. That one finally landed. And honestly, since you have a full dealing gauge, you also have another way to heal now if you need it. Oh, I never thought about that. But that is a good point. But yeah, the blue orbs that I died to last time are my least favorite attack in this entire thing. because they will pull you in. That might not have been obvious while I was rolling around, but they will pull you towards them, and he generally spawns like 2 or 3 whenever he uses them. So you're getting pulled in a couple different directions while also panicking because you're at 1 HP, and need to try to like avoid rolling too close to them or letting your roll drop at all. The good news is when he does that spin around attack, that's a pretty good opportunity to heal. There we go. Because he'll often just sit there until you do another move. Not always, but sometimes. Yeah, I hate the blue gravity orbs.
Yeah, I get that.
Like, they're really the only thing I'm super worried about in this, because most of his attacks, I know if I like get hit, I can just back off and wait to like block another one, or, you know, find an opportunity to cure, like right there. The blue orb, because you're getting pulled in, you can't always get the cure far enough in its animation to where Leaf Bracer protects you.
Yeah, at least in phase 2,
start.
It's generally not as bad since he'll just use them standalone, but in phase 3 he'll combine like 2 orbs together or 1 blue orb and a mega flow.
Yeah. There we go. But yeah, sadly, there isn't a ton to this fight to discuss besides like you could break down every single attack, but at the end of the day, you're cartwheeling a bunch using ignites and healing when you need to, and it's just a lot about like making sure you don't end up like putting yourself into corners, like backing yourself into bad situations like I did in that first attempt. See, like there, I should not have ignited there. I should have cured when I had that opportunity. So I got a little lucky that he did not punish me for it. But it is another thing where because you are... What the heck? Lock on, please. Because the fight takes so long, you want to make sure you are always putting a cure up, or I mean an ignite up, in case he's going to like dodge the next one, right? And so it's very easy to end up getting greedy in this fight as a result.
I'll also let you know that Sonic 2 appreciated the D-pad left.
Good. There we go. See, you want him to just kind of jump and do that spin attack move a bunch. It's like the easiest one to handle. I'm gonna get hit by this, aren't I? At least I got into Firestorm before I got hit.
Yeah, something like we alluded to, but if you're mid-combo when a command style change happens, either falling in...
That's time. I forgot to call. Sorry. Finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, command style changes interrupt once more, essentially. So if you're getting hit when either you enter or exit a command style, you die.
And I came in underestimate. And that's all I cared about with this run. So we were actually ahead of PB at various points in this run. After the Ventus part and after the final episode in particular, I was 4.5 minutes ahead. But that secret episode, because I was so adamant about like trying the skip for so long, and I think my PB had like a first try boss and first try skip, or at least very early try skip. It was tough competition. That boss definitely took a good chunk of time. But yeah, that'll do it for Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. Not the end of Kingdom Hearts for the marathon. If you all donate for that extra incentive for the KH3 run and everything, we can get even more Kingdom Hearts into the marathon. So please donate if you're able. No Kid Hungry is an extremely awesome cause. And thanks so much to SpeedGaming for having us on. Adam, if you want a real quick shout out your Twitch channel and everything.
Yeah, so I speedrun mostly KH2 Ando now, but Birth by Sleep every now and then. I used to be good at this game. Twitch.tv/ATZERO.
Yeah, and follow as well twitch.tv/Pessilist. Does he have an underscore at the end? I'm trying to remember. I think it's just Pessilist, PESSILEST. So because Pessilist is also very good at this. But LIST. Jeez, my brain is broken after 3.5 hours. I'm JHobz. You can follow me, JHobz296. It's been on screen the whole time though. And yeah, I will say good luck to the next runner, and thanks so much again for SpeedGaming for having us.